Well, hello everyone. We're live. I'm Zoe Kirk-Robinson. I'm standing in for Jennifer Kirk until she actually gets into the studio. So, sorry about that. If you're expecting her, she will be along. But right now she's not. So, I'm here instead and I'm just holding the seat and making sure that everything's fine for her when she eventually arrives. But, oh, here she is. So
Are you making a nuisance of yourself?
I was making
audience?
myself very efficient.
Oh.
Is there something that you would like, madam?
Yeah, give me a glass of whiskey, would you?
What kind of whiskey would you like?
Oh, speak a Burko brand, will be fine.
Okay.
Hey, everybody! And
I kept the seat warm for you.
Oh, Angus's train's good to have you along. And the ballast man says, hello, Zoe. There might be a bit of a delay on the comments.
There is a little bit of a delay.
Apparently there is a bit of a delay. But today's beverage of choice is a nice refreshing Celtic Spring with basically a bit of orange cordial in. So we're going sensible today. And it wasn't really that keen on orange cordial as a kid. It has to be said. I've kind of grown into it more than anything. But let's see, who else have we got in? New Mills Model Railway, greetings to you. Samson the Industrial Engine, hi to you. The Growler Blackwood Engage Layout, good evening, one and all. The Ballast Man, hello Jenny, hi to you. Gout, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Gout or Goot Valley, hi to you. I Like Transport, sorry, can't come for long. Don't worry, you're always welcome for however long that you can spare. It's always great to have you along. Don't worry about it. Otis JB, hi to you. Richie War Department Sutton, evening. Linnet 12DD, evening to you. Tony Britton, evening Jenny, and all the Monday crew. It's great to have you all in. Leslie Gilpin, hey up lads and lasses. Sorry, just my inner voice is putting a Yorkshire one on that one. What's it? Oh, apparently I've got a mug to hold, so merchandise, everybody. Jenny Monday Club merchandise. You can find this on Teespring. So we've got the lovely JK logo on one side, and then we've got the Jenny Monday Club logo on the other. It's not really coming out quite so well on there. So apparently I've been given an empty glass. And what have we got here? Apparently Zoe was determined to get me some kind of alcoholic beverage. So
it's not the Monday Club if you don't get drunk.
See what I have to live with?
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Go on, push off. So you can see there, Speaker Burko's single malt Scotch whisky, 10 years old. So other Scotch whiskies are available, just happens to be the one that's opened. So there's not that much left in here actually. What else have we got in the... Let's have a look. Duncan Butler, yo. Jenny, good evening. Don Cragan, good morning from California. Oh, what time is it in California?
Morning.
Well, yeah, I know it's morning in California. Which bit of California? Because California is somewhat large. In fact, I suspect it's larger than the whole of the UK. Apparently it's about 11 a.m. according to brains out there.
Pretty sure there are 8 hours behind us.
I think, apparently she reckons that they're that you're 8 hours behind us. So let's have a look. Child friendly. Yeah, you can have a gold-plated Rolls Royce if you pay for it. Free merch. If you can. Tell you what, if you can reach through the camera and grab it, it's yours. Nope. Where are we? Sorry, this is getting confusing. I meant about merch. Oh, don't get drunk. All right. I'm not going to get drunk. I have to say, I know I get a little bit silly when I get drunk, and I am a lightweight. So that's one of the reasons that, hey kids, keep yourself well hydrated at all times with some kind of water-based beverage. So it's actually just fizzy spring water. I don't know, I can never taste the difference. It tastes like tap water that's gone through a soda stream to me. But I put a little wee dab of juice in there, like cordial, and everything is grand. Angus's train's 5:04 a.m. in Australia. This is quite early. You've got it very, very early. So I feel honoured that you've chosen to join us. I used to be an early riser, but now, unfortunately, the bit of the morning that I like the most is the bit that's immediately after midnight. Game Hammer Classic Gaming. All beverages are water-based. We appear to have a clever rectum going on there. Gary Dykes, do both. Yes, this is our topic. DC or DCC. And it's something I was thinking about earlier today. So, just to shoot on us back on topic. I don't think we'd started on topic. But I was wondering today, I was running some trains up on Weir Yard. And quite simply, the thought occurred to me. I find myself, when I'm running trains, getting very bored very quickly of the DCC sound. And essentially, it got me thinking, is DCC the killer app that people predicted it was going to be? Or is it the paradigm shift that we were all looking for? And my thoughts on this matter were that even with DCC sound, basically I don't think it's that complete paradigm shift that we've been looking for. I think, well, not yet. I think it has the potential, and they're like Ron Stanbridge. Hi, Jenny. I will not go back to DC. I totally agree with you. And one of the myths about DCC is, you only need 2 wires to your track. That is not entirely true. Yeah, if you had a really, really small layout, you could get away with 2 wires to your track. But as anybody knows, when you look under pretty much any layout, it's a rat's nest of wiring. It always is. The bigger the layout, the bigger the rat's nest. The only thing that DCC, in terms of track wiring, the only advantage it has is that you can basically cut out your isolating sections, and you can cut out the need to have complicated switchings to switch certain tracks between different controllers. You could have like bi-directional lines that you switch between. And in that respect, DCC does make a lot of simplification, but you still need to wire up all of your electrofrogs. You need to have power feeds to various bits of the track, so it's all got to still be there. And I actually still wire in isolating sections, and the reason for this is that you can only have so many DCC locos off one DCC controller, even if they're not moving, before you essentially exceed the power that's available, and you start to get weird effects. In the case of the Prodigy, the Gauge Master Prodigy Express 2, I think it is, that I have, it actually crashes and it starts to do some really weird things. So I still wire in insulated sections where I can sit trains, and you can kind of energize a siding that's got 3 or 4 locos on, whilst at the same time other sidings, the turntable area, things like that, you can have isolated to limit the number of locomotives that are effectively live on the layout at any one time. So I know, Leslie, but you need boosters. I do need a booster. But getting information about what I need and how to wire it in has proven difficult. And you're probably going to say, oh yes, well, it's really easy, you just need to do this. But I have seen an awful lot of confusing information online about this. And what I want to know is, can I wire the booster to the same, effectively one big section of the layout as the main controller, or would I have to actually separate the layout into 2 different, isolated from each other, power districts? And I'm not clear on this. But your comments are coming in really thick and fast. So let's have a look. Just scrolling back. Angus's trains. I'm on holiday in Australia, Capital Territory. Oh, grand. Holiday season. Love holidays. Don't have to go to work when it's holiday time. Unfortunately, I used all my holidays up to be able to film Great Model Railway Challenge. I think I've got 1 solitary day of holiday that I can still take from my work to last me until next April, which is pretty grim, really, when you think about it. But yeah, excuse me. But yeah, oh, we got Brian Moser in. Hi to you. Gary Dykes, do both. DCC for all the functions and sound. DC for old stuff and for running in Locos before fitting a chip as recommended by Backman. I've actually never found that I needed to run in a Loco. Generally, that's never been a problem with newer Locos. But I know what you mean. I've still got one of my 4 running lines is currently wired to DC. And as I've been chipping Locos, before they get chipped, they can still be used on the DC line. And I do recommend this, because sometimes fault finding can be quite useful to have a DC line. So ultimately I'm going to fit a double pole, double throw, like a rotary switch, to be able to flick between DCC and DC on that line as I reach a point where less and less locomotives are DC only. But it's something that has been brought up online. I've been reviewing a particular brand of really cheap DCC chips, and you'll see that video hopefully on Saturday. One of the things that's come up with them is that cheap chips may not have a reliable thermal cutout. And a lot of people have been experiencing them just going pop very, very quickly. And what I can ascertain from what people are saying, you know, in terms of what they were doing with the chip and what locomotives they were in, this seems to be disproportionately caused by older locomotives that are getting hardwired, and locomotives that, say, for example, stall with a heavy load, and it's causing the chips to pop. So I think there's certain locomotives which will never get DCC fitted in my collection. I think everybody has some like this. Older split chassis locos. Now, I know that theoretically they can be done, but it's a lot of work, and I'm inclined to say that I have a lot of split chassis locos like this. I've got a J39 that's split chassis. I've got an old Bachmann A4 that's split chassis. I've got several class 4 diesel shunters that are split chassis, and I know that, for example, things like the V3, the older V3, what else? The old Ivet 262 tank by Bachmann, they were split chassis locos originally. So there's a lot of actually quite good split chassis locos still out there, still hold their own, which aren't necessarily worth hard wiring. Let's have a look. Don Cragen. Yes, it is now 11:05 a.m. Oh, you write the dates really, really weird. 2019 10:07. So have to put my head on now and work out that. Well, obviously I know it's the 7th of October. All right, so it's completely backwards. Oh. And yes, California is larger than the UK, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. I know it's pretty big. You know, it goes from sort of like desert in the south up to some quite lush greenery in the north. Because is San Francisco in California? Am I right in thinking that San Francisco is actually right up on the north side of California? Or is it in a different state? Is Oakland up there as well? Well, it's got me thinking now. Right, the Don Juan. Good evening, people of the modelling world. Good evening to you. Tony Britton, been watching your channel this week, Angus. Well done, mate. Yeah, Angus's Trains. It's a great channel. I am a subscriber, and it is a channel I can heartily recommend. So if you haven't already done so, go and check out Angus's Trains channel. It's got some good videos of, in particular, the ones that I like. You've filmed some of the actual full-size live steam railways in Australia, live steam locos running on the main line. They have that really impressive thing where they have 4 steam locomotives running in parallel, and it's very, very impressive to see that. I'd love them to do that up something like the East Coast Main Line. Can you imagine that? 4 steam locomotives and their trains charging up the East Coast Main Line side by side up those lines, you know, through somewhere like Grantham and up towards York and Darlington. That would be amazing if they could organise that, but unfortunately the health and safety clipboard merchants, the fun police, will be like, oh no, you're not allowed to have that much fun. Let's have a look. Linnet 12DD. I'm N-gauge with older stock, so DCC a bit of a pain. Yeah, I can imagine that. It's tight enough trying to fit DCC chips in a lot of 00 models, especially some of the smaller little tank engines. But I can imagine an N-gauge, that must be really infuriating to fit stuff in. Wolfie Wolf, hey up Jenny, hey up Zoe, hey up everybody. I'm not taking the pee. I'm just my inner. You know, you got a little voice in your head that reads things out for you. Mine puts on funny accents, and occasionally they creep out through the mouth. Let's have a look. We read that one. So, the Ballast Man. I'm a DC man. If I want to hear an engine run, I'll go to a heritage line in my club. All run DC. No one runs DCC. Yeah, DC still has a lot going for it. And one of the things, actually, which I have experimented on with DCC, and I've not, I've got it to work, but I've not been massively impressed with the way it works, is double and triple heading in DCC. I found it a faff to set up, and just it hasn't worked massively reliably for me. Whereas in DC, double and triple heading was actually a doddle with newer models. And even going back, I can remember double and triple heading Hornby 003 rail locos, and it worked. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with DC. It's not like the difference that we experienced when DVD turned up and ousted VHS. We're not talking about that kind of paradigm shift in quality, functionality, this, that and the other. But I think where DCC has potential, now the thing I was thinking of, the sound I thought would be the seal the deal thing for me. I went DCC because of the sound, but what I found is in having sound, I get very bored very quickly. I don't know whether it's me, but you get this cacophony of sound, and I like to just leave trains running, and they start to sound very samey when they're sort of chugging around. So I end up turning the sound off. But I could see a market for some of the extra kind of play value functions in terms of... we're seeing it with the Bachmann Class 90 with the pantograph that you can make go up. So it's got like an activated a solenoid that gives you a motion. So they say on GMRC, the animations. But with that, the pantograph itself springing up and down, for me is a little bit of a gimmick. But what I can see, and bear with me on this, is the DCC being used on, for example, multiple units to open and close doors. I could see that as being a much more usable function, maybe coupled with, like Class 150s onwards, that kind of thing, have the lights that come on when the doors open, and they're sided, as it were. So, with things like that, there's a lot of things that you could theoretically, realistically do, in 00 and bigger scales, yes, but in 00, that I think that's where DCC would really come into its own. But at the moment, I feel that we've turned a corner. We've got plug-in sockets, but they still can't quite decide on the standard for the actual socket. So, you've got 4-pin, you've got 6-pin, you've got 8-pin, you've got 21-pin, you've got next 18. What next? They keep on bringing out new types of decoders, and it's a bit infuriating, actually, in a way. Vampira says, hi guys and girls, hi to you. Leslie Gilpin, I do both, but with the sound I can take it or leave it. I know what you mean. Yeah, model rail exhibitions are very noisy these days. And yeah, I totally hear you. Sometimes you can have too much of a good thing. And, you can imagine having a layout with like 30 locomotives all fired up on. And it'll just become this drone, like Vuvuzelas in that World Cup that just ruined it. Absolutely ruined it. Do you remember watching it on TV? And it was like there was a swarm of wasps permanently there. Alan Reynolds, DC for me. Hi Jenny, PVA J-Cloth Alan, in the loft again. Boom! Greatest place to be, in the loft. Unless your layout's in a basement or spare bedroom or shed or a garage. But yeah, I'm talking myself into corners here. But yeah, let's have a look. Stephen follows. Hi to you. CSX Rensville, hi to you. Good to have you along. I'm wiring up a DCC layout even as you speak. And yeah, the thing about DCC as well is they're a bit more finicky. There's a reason that stay alive capacitors are kind of becoming a big thing, because you need them. Because what I found is that whereas on DC, a little bit more forgiving, the odd little bit where there's a tiny bit of track, it had a dead spot. But with DCC, especially with DCC sound, it's like, boom, stops dead. And I find that deeply irritating. So with DCC, it's never been so important, to make sure all of your sections are very, very well wired up. So in some respects, DCC, even more important for all those droppers, because you want a good signal, good power to every little micron of the layout. It's not saying it's good practice in DC to do much the same. You'll get a lot of great reliability. But with DCC, the locomotive tends to stall quite dramatically, and especially if you've got an acceleration program programmed in, it will be trundling along and it'll stop dead, and then it'll slowly accelerate up, and then stop dead somewhere else. And I find that deeply annoying. And if you've got sound running, the sound dies and you have to manually set it back off. Oh, excuse me, gas in the water. Alan Reynolds, DC for me. Oh, sorry, I've just read that out. Tony Britton, hi Vampira. Leslie Gilpin, you need boosters. Yeah, I know. Oh, I think we. Hold on. Yeah, Brian Mozzie. Yes, DCC saves on switches, but with the extra cost of controller and chips, you can buy a lot of switches. See, it must be said, this is an area that I have not used DCC for. I know a lot of people have, oh look, I can control all my points and signals. I wire up my points and my signals conventionally. That is with whole loads of little passing contact switches and on switches and on-off switches, that kind of thing. And those things are completely separate from the DCC bus. And I prefer things that way. And what we can take home from this is that if you prefer doing things in a certain way, why change? And for me, I decided I just quite like having all those little miniature switches. You can feel more connected to the switching of your points, and I find it much easier to route learn, as it were, to know what switch does what. So I completely stick with the old analog way of doing points and signals, and that is completely compatible with DCC. Just because you go DCC for the locomotives does not mean that you have to go DCC for the points and otherwise. Owen Concord, I don't have DCC, but I have DCS, a similar system from MTH for my layout. I've not heard of that one. I collect and operate mostly US O gauge, but I do have plans for a second layout with OO/HO in the future. Oh, grand. I'm interested about. I've not heard of that system, but obviously going way, way back, we had a system called 01 from Hornby, which you could argue is basically the granddaddy, the great granddaddy of DCC in some respects. Stephen follows. You also seem to have slightly more control with DCC, subject to track cleaning. I suppose that's partly because you've got a constant voltage to the track. I forget what voltage it is, and the chip is kind of feeding the motor what it needs. I think it kind of pulses full power, so it's switching the motor on and off, but the off bit is longer and longer bits. So when you've got it on full power, it's just feeding 12 volts to the motor constantly. But so potentially DCC could have more reliability, but there's still issues to kind of iron out. Let's have a look. Matt Ovell, have you ever tried a Hornby Live Steam model? I assume it works similarly to DCC, but it does have its own controller type. Haven't tried it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I haven't tried them. I've seen them running. My understanding is that they send some kind of... There's a voltage going to the track, but keep it separate. It will probably fry DC engines, and it will almost certainly fry DCC, would be my guess. DCC chips are very finicky. Even if you've got one of those high frequency track cleaning units, like a Relco track cleaning unit, that will pop your DCC chips. So you've got to be careful. Leslie Gilpin, I'm avoiding boosters but do use isolated sidings to just stop wasting power. Yeah, me too. I've got 4 or 5 different isolating sections in use for that purpose on the DCC parts of my layout. I work on the basis if I sort the power feed out so that it doesn't matter how many locos are there, then you just turn them on. It's no big deal to have them wired in. Fat Wallet Boy 2, good to see you. The big shift will be taking power away from the track altogether, and locos have their own power. Could be an issue though for rolling stock that might need power. See, I'm not a big fan of batteries. I've seen some quite effective, like remote control type locos done that run independently of whatever's going on with the track, and then obviously you have live steam and stuff. But I think in 00 and certainly N-Gauge, it's not really practical, and like you say, could be an issue for rolling stock that might need power. And certainly as DCC progresses, the idea of having coaches with opening doors using the DCC system, could be there. Ham Shackleton, boosters have to have 2 power districts making control. The controller runs 1, booster taps into the output and runs district 2. So I would have to isolate one half of the layout from the other. I take it if you plug a booster and a controller into the same section, they annoy each other, then I take it. That might be annoying. I'll have to Dremel out fish plates or something. That could be quite a big job, actually. The Growler Blackwood N-Gauge layout. Blackwood N-Gauge is DC, but considering changing over to DCC, interested to read the need to maybe still have isolating sections. I wired them in because I had a lot of isolating switches that were salvaged from Trinity Road out in the shed when that actually got dismantled. So I just reused them. So I had the parts to do it. Let's have a look. Mark Wilson, try AC/DC. Yeah, but it might leave you thunderstruck. That's the only thing. But Ron Stanbridge, DCC Buster, just put it to the track. I have to use it on the garden railway. Jeff Walker, I used to help a friend promote and sell DCC in the 90s. When explained to people it did not require computer knowledge, they were usually hooked. Angus's Trains, Jenny, I saw your reply on the previous stream and you said you were going to help me. Yeah, there's a lot of us reported the problem. You were having a problem with another user, and I believe quite a few of us reported that user for effectively cyberbullying. Has that been resolved? Because I know that YouTube, even when stuff gets reported, YouTube can be a little bit naff at dealing with it. So did that get sorted out for you? Or I'm presuming because you're asking, it hasn't as yet. I don't know what else to say on that. That the other user that was bullying you has been reported. But I guess it's a case of I don't know what else to do. Although, if you know who that other user actually is in real life, I think you said it was somebody else that was at the same school as you, then it's possibly the case to consider reporting that to the school as well, because they may be able to do something as well if it's deemed to be bullying. But certainly it's been reported to YouTube, but as to what they're doing, I don't know. Warrington Train Spotter 2778, hello to you, good evening. Diesel and Freight Spotter in Kent, what DCC controller do you use or do you recommend? I actually use a Gauge Master Prodigy Express. Now, the reason I use that is not because I sort it out over and above any other, but I originally had an older Bachmann Class 55, 55002 in the two-tone livery but with the BR Tops number. I got it for about 40 quid second hand, new as new in box. And then somebody I knew wanted that locomotive, and they'd upgraded their DCC. And they said, I want to buy that loco off you. I said, no, not interested in selling it. So they rather cunningly said, well, actually, I've got this DCC system. I will swap you the DCC system for that loco. And I thought, actually, that's a good deal. So that's how I ended up with the DCC system that I have got. Mark Wilson, I never buy cheap chips. It's just false economy. Always buy McCain crinkle cut. Yeah, I totally, actually, with chips, Auntie Bessie's are good as well. But yeah, cheap chips just don't quite work. I think the parboiling and pre-frying process that's used is what it's down to, and the likes of McCain and Auntie Bessie's have probably a more intensive pre-cooking process to make them work better in the oven that cheaper ones might not have. CSX Rensville, I'm worrying. We've already read that comment. Where are we up to? Tony Britton was going to ask if I could be a moderator, but you seem to have enough. Yeah, we've got quite a few in, actually. I'm going to hold off on that. If I make everybody a moderator, it becomes a bloodbath. Leslie Gilpin, San Francisco is 2/3 the way up and often foggy. So how far north does California actually go? I mean, you've got San Diego right down there in the south. But what's the... Google is my friend, I know that. But I can't be bothered looking. So I'm just curious where the border is. And is it Washington State that's above? Is it Washington State? See, you've got to remember, I'm in the UK. Geography of the US is treated as an afterthought. So we know the rough shape. We know where you are in the world. It's grand, and we know a few states. I think there's 50 of them. And given enough time and a pen and paper, I could probably name most, if not all of them. But my geographical knowledge of the US actually comes from playing the game Railroad Tycoon. Remember the Sid Meier's Railroad Tycoon? Vampira, is there anyone else here who is interested in Old Hornby? See, I like Old Hornby 00, which is sort of a different company, even though the name might suggest otherwise. See, history is, what is Hornby now was originally Triang. It was the Rovex company, and then Meccano had the trade name Hornby 00. Now, Meccano was founded by Frank Hornby, and that's where the Hornby comes from. When Meccano went bust, Triang, the Rovex company, bought effectively the Hornby 00 range, as it were, the moulds, and they also bought the right to the name because Hornby had the brand recognition. So if you're talking about like 1970s Hornby or Triang Hornby, not my thing. But Hornby 00, now that's my thing. Angus's Trains, one engine frontman, the Big Four. Samson the Industrial Engine. I saw someone fit Eccles decoder in an N-Gauge Class 8. Not a brand that I'm familiar with. The Don Juan, Angus Trains just subscribed. Boom! Are we up to the 100 yet there? Mark Wilson, bonjour le génie, bonjour le monkey de cupboard. The cupboard monkey's about some. There's going to be like a nasty comment somewhere from her. Wolfie Wolf, what was the thing about Pico track points and an old Hornby loco? So I was trying to remember what the problem was when chatting to my father-in-law about getting track for his layout. Right, flanges. The flanges on older rolling stock are a lot coarser. So, as far as I'm aware, Pico code 100, that's grand. But do not use code 75 and code 83 as well, because you will find that the flanges don't get on. If you go back even further to the Triang days, it won't even run on code 100 because the flanges are so deep it bangs along on the rail chairs. So that's what you've got to watch out for. James Carroll, hello Jenny from Florida, USA. Hi to you. Leslie Gilpin, speed matching, got to do that soon. Angus's Train, Jenny, have you seen my newest video? I haven't looked. If that's gone up in the last couple of days, I haven't. But I'm sure your choice in music will be grand. I will have a look at that after the live stream. Diesel and freight spotter in Kent. I'm trying to learn how to do bus wiring, but all the videos don't explain it that well. I'll show you how to do it. So will you be able to do a video on wiring and the bus and track? See, bus wire, I've seen people talk about this as if you physically have to have a big, like almost like a ring main around your layout of the two wires, and then run droppers to it. And yes, you can do that. But you can also do what I've done, which is you daisy chain. Just like hodgepodge, so effectively you have like nodes and then branches, and then one of those branches will go to a new place that becomes a new node where you have droppers branching out of. It doesn't have to be like a ring main. People talk about that, and I've even seen people talk about, oh yes, you get this self-adhesive copper strip and you run 2 strips all the way around and then solder wires to them. Or you have like big thick copper wires and solder everything to them. Talk about belt and braces. You do not need that. Essentially, you can just daisy chain your track feeds together and just treat it like almost like a spider web. As long as you get a feed, it's you'd have to go like hundreds of feet, well certainly tens and tens of feet, tens of yards, before you have any issue with voltage drop, quite simply. Gonads 1259, always good to have you along. Always recognise your name. Evening Jen and all, evening to you. Don Cragen, I'm in San Jose in Central California at the sound of the San Francisco Bay. San Francisco is about 70 miles northwest of San Jose. Oakland is on the north side of the bay. Excuse me, I knew that Oakland was on the other side of the bay. One of the things that I mean, it's probably a bit of a macabre way of knowing, but the big earthquake in the 80s, we learnt a lot about San Francisco and Oakland and that area because of the news reports of that. James Hardy, I can answer this. Why has the Great Model Railway Challenge changed days? This is because Channel 5 is doing some experimentation with ratings. I had an email from Pat Doyle to explain that what's happened is Channel 5 has decided that they're going to try GMRC up against something different on the other side. I can't remember what it was up against on the Friday night, but it's basically up against a big hitter. Something like, was it Strictly Come Dancing or something else? Or no, that was it. EastEnders and Coronation Street. And the thinking is that it might fare better up against Strictly Come Dancing, because you end up, essentially, what you might find is that a lot of people really couldn't give a toss about Strictly Dancing, would actually be really interested in seeing GMRC on the other side. Whereas if it's up against Coronation Street and EastEnders or whatever, then what you tend to find is people become a lot broader audiences into that kind of thing. So it's simply a case of they're seeing if it fares better. That's what I've been told. So nothing untoward about it. That's all it's down to. And to give you an idea of this, when I did Channel 4's Biggest Little Railway, that was originally slated to go out in the autumn schedule, the year before it was actually broadcast. And it was scheduled up against Blue Planet 2. And in the TV industry, going up against David Attenborough and Blue Planet is basically, you might as well flush your programme down the toilet, because nobody's watching anything else. Everybody's watching Blue Planet, which is why that got moved. Angus's Trains, 81 subs. Boom! Let's see if we can get you up to 100 subs. So, Angus's Trains is a great channel. I really do encourage you to go and check out Angus's channel. Some great videos on there. He's a real up-and-coming star of YouTube. There's some great material on there. And, wishing him really well. It's a really good outlook on the world of railways, coming as it does from Australia. So, if you're into UK or American outline stuff or continental outline stuff, this is a different way of looking at model railways, and it's really good. So big up to Angus's Trains. Dungeonwood Model Railway, evening Jenny and other folks, defo DCC for me. Consists on the lens and ECOS work great. Yeah, I am aware that some of the issues that I have could be just down to my DCC controller, and at the end of the day, the person who I did the swap with for it, they upgraded for a reason. So it may well be, and a part of me is wondering, and I need a controller for the garden layout, and I'm thinking that for one, maybe two engines in Steam on a garden O-gauge layout, the DCC system that I've currently got might just be perfect for that. And what I actually need to do is invest in a really good DCC system for the loft that will handle all of those locomotives and any power requirements. So that is in the back of my mind. Gonads 1259 at Diesel and Freight Spotter in Kent. Look up Brian Lambert's website for DCC bus wiring. Yeah, it has to be said. There are a lot of good videos out there on YouTube. I've got videos up there, not necessarily about DCC. I was a late convert to DCC, but certainly YouTube is always your friend for a great many things, not just model railway related. You know, if you're looking to do DIY or repairs around the house or on your car, that kind of thing, YouTube is actually a really great place to get information, so never underestimate what you can find there. Logan Clary, DC, easy to fix. It's just jumped massively. I'm just trying to find where it was up to. There we are. DC, easy to fix. Logan Clary. Yeah, DCC isn't too bad to fix. I'll be honest with you. I know that the chip, if a chip goes pop, you just fit a new one. But DC, I think they both have pros and cons. But my gut feeling is that DCC has slightly more pros than DC. But it's like horses for courses. Brian Moser, my layout is in my office. It's a good office. See, you could argue my loft is also sort of my office. Actually, no, scratch that. It's not my office. The library downstairs is my office. In one of my old intros, you saw me there, sat at the computer that's down there, and that's where I actually do all my writing. So, scratch that. My layout is not in my office in any way. James Carroll, Jenny, do you have the chips for your covered wagons for sound of flat wheels? It's an interesting thought. No. But, it could be coming because Hornby do the DCC sound wagons. I've yet to get one. I'd love to evaluate that. But yeah. I've got lasting memory of HEA's hoppers rumbling through Durham Station and a wagon going past, and it was like bang, 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 bang. And you could feel it through the platform. It was quite a devastating flat spot. Lilgoth, one of DC's good strengths is that you can take your locos to other layouts without having to reprogram half the chips. Well, why would you need to reprogram the chips? Essentially, if you set the DCC chip so it will also run on DC, that loco is good to go on pretty much anything else. Why would you need to reprogram it? As long as you know its number on the other layout, you dial it up and it should just work. The Chelsea winners. I've just got into model rails and I've just fitted my baseboards ready for some sort of track layout as it is U-shaped layout. Any tips or advice in getting started with a layout? Always think to the future, and make sure that you've got operational interest in your layout. Otherwise, you'll get bored of it. Ask yourself, what is it that you want to model? What is it you want from the layout? Do you want an end-to-end shunting layout, or do you want a continuous run? And design that in. Do you want multiple trains to be able to run at the same time? Do you want multi-levels? And I guess with a model railway, it can be quite tempting to dive straight in and do the scenery very, very quickly. But actually, you've got to remember that your track laying and your baseboards and the wiring are quite fundamental. And a lot of times, if you get too engrossed into scenery before you really sorted out track and electrics and baseboards, you can kind of build yourself into a corner. It's one of the starting kind of pitfalls of model railway building. The first layout always cocks up, believe me. First layout I built, I fell into so many of the newbie pitfalls. Rubbish baseboards, used MDF, poor electrics, poor track laying, wrong materials for scenics. But it is a learning curve. And what I would suggest is that there's quite a few how-to guides on my channel. There's how-to guides which follow the building of Weir Yard, which is my large loft layout. But there's also a series of guides to how to build a small portable layout. That gives you some clues behind baseboard construction, track layout design, that kind of thing. And also there's other channels as well which cover some of those. So always worth doing a lot of research. Richie War Department Sutton. I'm retooling my layout to World War I theme. It is great actually to have a layout that you can run in multiple themes. It's one of the things that I do try and do. Growler Blackwood Engage layout. Jenny, the more you talk about DCC and issues, I'm now rethinking changing over from DC. What issues? Double heading I found easier on DC, but that could be down to my controller. I get bored easily. It's like squirrel. Ooh, shiny, shiny. I like to just leave trains to run, but I don't necessarily want them to be chuffing and whistling all the time when they're doing it. It's nice that they can, but it doesn't have to always be. Splartman, DC for me and custom Arduino for experiments. Certainly, the custom Arduinos. Got to play about. Well, I didn't personally. Computers and me were like, oh look, they're going well over my head. I'm a hardware person, not a software one. So when it comes to programming these things, no. But Melanie Lewis, who we had on as a guest of the channel, was also on my GMRC, Great Model Railway Challenge team. That's her area, that's her thing. So certainly the things you can achieve. The Martians on our GMRC layout were controlled by that kind of thing. So certainly they're not to be overlooked. Philip Page, good evening to you. Stretch Edits, evening to you. Mark Croucher, I think it was a reference to switches to isolation of sections. Earlier comment, yeah. Going as 1259, with DCC you're driving the loco, with DC you're driving the power. Yeah, there is that. You get a kind of finer control with DCC. I found shunting a lot easier with DCC. New Mills Model Railway. So how does dropper wires work on DCC? I started out on DCC with a small lump, so didn't need any wiring really. It's really just making that you've got a good electrical feed to every bit of wire. It's simply that. I think people confuse the issue by having bus wires and stuff. Honestly, believe me, because I've built Weir Yard in a much more conventional DC type way in terms of the electrical wiring. The only difference between it being that it's basically one big section. Like you could run that layout on DC, but you'd only ever be able to run one locomotive, access all areas. And essentially, if that's the way you think of it, then you're fine. Don't let people scare you. Splartman, DCC doesn't appeal to me. If I was going to get involved in all that, I want a robot or something, not a way to make running little trains real hard. It's not really, really hard. It's just different. It has its pros and cons. There's certainly a lot of advantages. Leslie Gilpin, it was the move to DCC when I found one of my DC controllers was giving out 14 volts maximum. Everybody assumes that these things just stop at 12 volts. I know from my old Hornby 00 controllers that actually some of those controllers were capable of putting out a good 20 volts, and some of the locomotives were quite happy to take it. And you put a modern locomotive on, and I you just touch the power to the very first setting and they'd shoot off at warp speed. Wolfie Wolf. New Mills Bolero basically create a track under the baseboard in wire, same as in DC. But as I said before, it doesn't have to be this neat bus going all the way around like a ring main. You can do it as the sort of node and spoke method that I talked about before. Robin Dow, I agree with you about DCC sound, plus it makes locos beyond the reach of many. I have loads of older locos which draw more current than decoders can handle. Yeah, although you can actually get the decoders that are for things like O gauge, G scale, gauge 1 would handle the extra current draw, but they are more expensive. Ham Shackleton, I use a radio controlled old loco to tow the track polisher around before I try to run DCC. Yeah, we talked about track things, track cleaners the other week. Stretch edits. I got into DCC after buying a sound-fitted American Loco. I run USA stock DCC and UK stock DC just by switching the track section. Works well for me. Yeah, and I know quite a few people who do that. Rotary switches are very good. Just make sure you don't leave any DC locos on the track when you switch it over to DCC. Warrington Train Spotter 2778. I reported that YouTube channel, Angus. Yeah, there's quite a few of us did. Angus's trains, he has stopped. Oh, great! So he stopped and is now a subscriber. He saw which way the wind was blowing, didn't he? Yeah, he saw that you were popular. So you were the cool kid, and he wasn't. Ham Shackleton at New Mills. Drop us a short, thin wires that go from each piece of track to a heavy wire underneath the board. Thick wires don't lose as much power over a long run. Yeah, if you had a huge layout, then yes. But I've not found a huge issue, it has to be said, up in the loft on Weir Yard. It's quite a large layout, but I guess there's bigger. Angus's trains. Jenny, someone dislikes my videos and Wolf Clips says, however, dislikes it is a fool. And what you'll find is that there's always somebody, all of my videos, every single one without fail, gets 3 or 4 thumbs down, sometimes even more. And don't dwell on it. The way that the YouTube algorithm works is because they know that there's idiots out there. So ironically, a thumbs up counts exactly the same as a thumbs down on YouTube's algorithms for what they call interaction. And so actually it doesn't affect your videos in any way. Voting videos down doesn't actually do anything other than increase the interactions with that video, which is all that YouTube is counting. But look at it this way, you're living rent-free in somebody else's head. If they're motivated enough to go and vote down all of your videos, you're living rent-free in their head. And they are sad, sad little people. I get people who vote me down. Even, some of the greatest channels on YouTube, people like Scotty Kilmer or Ben Yahtzee Croshaw and Zero Punctuation, get people voting those videos down. There's some buffoon has voted down Gangnam Style. They just do it. They're trolls. They're sat in a pair of sweaty Y-fronts in their parents' understairs cupboard surrounded by used Kleenex. Don't worry about them. Don't let them get to you because they're not worth it. And actually, they're not harming you. Right. Anyway, this partly political broadcast was brought to you. Going on to 12:59. Look, you don't have to reprogram it. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Richie War Department Sutton. Love your videos. Thank you very much. And I feel honoured that people love my videos. It's great that I feel really happy that I'm producing stuff that people like. Where are we up to? Anthony Villetta. I run these days. HO for me. I have a hard time seeing OO. Oh, I run O these days. HO for me. I have a hard time seeing OO. Right. And my father's done the same. He's kind of moved up to O gauge, just a site issue. Leslie Gilpin. Otis JB. What do moderators do? Well, they boot trolls from the account. Boot and ban trolls. Essentially, we had an influx of trolls, so I made a few people moderators. And they just boot, kick, ban trolls and report them. Leslie Gilpin, California, then Oregon, knew that was around there somewhere. Then Washington, then Canada. Lynette 12DD, I still play it occasionally. Railroad Tycoon, great. I presume you're talking about Railroad Tycoon. It's a great game. Sid Meier does make great games, or did. The other one I love, actually, the one that I can't stop playing, is the original Civilization. Going on to 12:59, Oregon is between Los Angeles and Washington State. Oh, well, Los Angeles is part of California. Ham Shackleton, Washington is in DC, No, DC is District of Columbia. Right, there's Washington, DC and Washington State. Washington State is a state. Washington, DC is a city in the District of Columbia. Yeah, that's as much as I know as well. Brian Moser, with wire, it's not thick wire you need. The more strands, the better the electric runs along the outside of each strand. So more strands gives you a bigger surface. So less power. I don't know. No. See, I did A-level physics. It's not the outside, it's the cross section. The way to think about it is electricity through a wire acts an awful lot like water through a pipe. So if you have a larger diameter pipe with a bigger internal cross section, you can fit more water through that. And there's less resistance to that water. You think about it, if you have a really small pipe, there's a lot of resistance to that water. You know, you can pressurize it and you still can't get the water through fast enough because of the diameter. If you have a really big really big pipe, you don't need a lot of pressure to get a lot of water through. And electricity works the same in wires. Larger cross section, you know, if you could have a wire that is literally, you know, like a 10-foot diameter metal rod, it would conduct far, far better than than a steel tube, because a steel tube, the inside's missing. You don't conduct electricity through the middle. So it's not the surface area, it's quite simply the actual volume, as it were, inside the wire. And when you have multi-strand wire, you've got multiple wires, so you've got like multiple avenues for the electrons to pass down. Gonads 1259. There's Washington State and Washington DC. I said that. Canadian Rail fan. Hi to you. Great to have you along. How are you doing? Stretch edits. Washington is on the east coast. Washington State is on the west coast. Yes. See, I do know a little bit about American geography. James Carroll. Jenny, in USA, if you're cyberbullied or threatened, all you have to do is have a timestamp of conversation and a pic of the channel and report to the FBI. The cyber section takes care of the problem. Gosh, I mean, that is great to know, actually. They must be quite busy, it has to say. Is there kind of a backlog that they have, maybe? But, yeah, cyberbullying, I believe, is a crime in the UK as well. The problem is enforcement. I guess that's the same all around the world, is that, you know, it's, you know, we've all seen people doing things like driving whilst using a mobile phone or a cell phone for people in America. And actually, I don't even know whether it's illegal in America, but certainly in the UK, it's illegal to drive whilst using a handheld mobile phone. But because it's illegal doesn't mean you don't see people doing it, and it's about enforcement. Canadian Rail fan. I got Huntley's packet from Hornby. Oh, brilliant. Is that the new one that comes in a pack with the 3 wagons, or is that the original release? I do have the new one on order, but I haven't heard anything as yet. Leslie Gilpin, doing California, Oregon and Washington before heading to British Columbia at Christmas. Nice. I would love to visit a lot of America. You know, it's a country that, despite its foibles, you know, every country has its foibles, has a lot to offer. And if any of you ever seen Man vs. Food on TV, it's an American show where a guy goes around various places in America and takes on these eating challenges and explores some of the like local dishes and stuff. I would love to follow that trail. I love my food, as you can tell from the big belly. I used to be thin, you know. Anthony Villetta, hello from Iowa, USA. Hi to you. Robot Monkey, Jenny and all, have you seen the automatic decoupler video doing the rounds? Mind blown. I haven't seen that, but there are DCC systems for doing that. Uses like a servo to like lift up couplings and stuff. Can be done, seen it done. Quite a few different ways of doing it. But yeah, I'll have to look out for that. Chris Lawson, hi to you. Matthew Walker, good evening from Leeds. Local boy. Leeds is it's about an hour from here. You're actually not far from Melanie Lewis. The Ballast Man. Jenny, would you ever go back to DC at all? Funny you should say that. I was thinking earlier on. Now, Grove Street Yard, which was in Model Rail issue 143 and Model Yarn Advance Magazine and MRE Mag, that's my exhibition layout. And I was thinking earlier on today, I've run it on DCC and I've run it on DC. And I was trying to decide, actually, it's due for an outing at an exhibition in Rainhill next month, I think. I was trying to think, am I going to run it on DC or DCC? And I'm actually inclined to run it on DC. So I think DC does have its places. And the reason I choose to run it on DC is because I'd still need a DC controller to energise the lighting circuit, which runs off 12 volts DC, and all of the switches for the point solenoids, which run off 16 volts AC. There's also a CDU in there as well. And I figured it would be far simpler to just take the DC controller and then run the track off it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the locomotives that are for working on it. They've got DCC chips in, but I'm going to make sure that they will run on DC, because there's one of the CV settings in the chip you have to change. So yeah, I think I probably will still use that for my display layout, at least in the short term. Going down to 1259, Washington DC is the US capital and a quasi-state. Not to be confused with Washington State, nor Washington in Tyne and Wear, yes, which has a sign as you go into Washington, because I've got a client there with my day job that I go and visit an awful lot. It says, welcome to Washington, the original Washington. The original and first. And it's something that a lot of people forget around the world, is that a lot of place names in places like Australia, USA, and to some extent in Canada as well, and New Zealand, there's a lot of place names that are borrowed from the UK, because people emigrated from here and named places after them. So there's London, Ontario, I think it is. Well, obviously we've got a London. Birmingham, Alabama, we've got the original Birmingham. But then we've got Boston, Washington, Melbourne as well, funnily enough, is a little village near Derby. Newcastle, there's Newcastle in Australia. I don't know if there's a Newcastle in America. There's definitely a Manchester. I can't remember which state it's in. Station Road Model Railway, hello from New Zealand. Interestingly enough, New Zealand is named after part of, I think it's Holland, Zealand in Holland. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Mark Wilson, nearly missed the extra GMRC episode. It is on my 5 to catch up if you do miss it or you want to watch it again. Leslie Gilpin, I just plugged in my NCE power cab to the track and that was it. A switch to go from DC to DCC. Yeah, it doesn't have to be complicated. Stretch edits, Leslie, I did the same thing too, works well. No real wiring changes required. Yeah, definitely. If your layout's already wired up for DC, it's quite simple to run it on DCC. All you have to do is basically just wire up a different controller. Make sure you don't have anything like track cleaning units, and just make sure the locos that are on the track are not unfitted, otherwise they get fried. Leslie Gilpin, stretched. It's on my long loop. I had to add one extra feed. Yeah, sometimes extra feeds don't hurt, and they can help DC as well. Otis JB, do you know how many views GMRC is getting each week? I do actually. It's approximately just over 1 million, I believe. Ham Shackleton, daisy chaining the wiring is okay until you get a duff wire somewhere and half the layout goes dead. Yeah, use good quality wiring and good quality soldering, and I use the chock blocks as well. A multimeter is very good for tracing faults. Never underestimate the power of a multimeter to tell you where the feed goes dead. The Ballast Man, I got told by one of my college lecturers that her children love watching the Great Model Railway Challenge Series 2, trying to convince them to making a layout. Yeah, and it's something that carried over from Series 1, is that a lot of people got interested in model railways because of that, and hopefully that will continue. It's made it more acceptable and mainstream, and it's dispelled a lot of the stereotypes that are just quite frankly wrong about railway modelers. Long may it continue. I know from several exhibition managers, they say they're getting more families come to shows, more people, more new people to the hobby. So yeah. Stretch edits. Leslie, how long was the loop? Leslie, 50 odd feet. That is quite a loop, actually. That is one hell of a layout. Richie War Department Sutton. Hi, Jen. Would you get Bachmann's new war flat wagons? Yes, I would. I'm also very interested. I need to get some of the Parrot wagons that they did. There's a lot of stuff I need to get. The problem I have is money, just like everybody else. This hobby can get quite expensive, and I'm very, very lucky actually. I've got 3 different manufacturers have sent me some review copies, not huge amounts, I'm not drowning in review copies, but 3 companies have sent me odd bits and pieces, which does help for producing videos. But I do buy a lot more stuff, and Bachmann is not one of the manufacturers that sends me anything, so I still have to buy any Bachmann stock that I review. So yeah, and at the moment I'm spending a lot on DCC chips, it has to be said. Carol Taylor, good evening to you. Oh no, it's just jumped. I've lost my space. It just decides, boom, it just jumps to the bottom. So, good God, you lot have been busy chatting whilst I've been, I think I'm about the right place. Your website. Yes, you might need to fill out our UK layouts aren't usually that long. Stretch edit says, yeah, absolutely right. Canadian rail fan, Jeddy, who got ill on GMRC semis? My mind's gone blank. I'm not allowed to tell you. The semi-final is broadcast this coming Saturday. It's the first of the 2 semi-finals, and you'll have to stay tuned and watch them. I simply am not allowed to tell you any of the things that will feature on there, but look out for there's some quality drama, and it is exciting. But we take GMRC to a whole new level. I mean, it's a really great series, this series. They've taken what happened in Series 1 and improved the format, and I think the teams going on it have raised the bar. But certainly, it wasn't without drama, interesting drama, people going to hospital, blah-de-blah-de-blah, but I can't tell you what's gone on. Sorry, I get told off. Ben King rang me up and told me off because Melanie let slip something on my live stream, and so Muggins here got told, keep a lid on that. So really can't tell you, I'm sorry. Robert Hensher, hi Jenny, what's your take on weathering on locos, or do you like the new out the paint shed look? I think some weathering looks way too heavy, mostly seen on some steam locos. Right. I like a lot of the factory weathered stuff, although, caveat, Daypole's factory weathering I don't like. It just, for me, it looks wrong. It's the wrong shade of brown. I don't like their weathering. The weathering, the factory applied weathering that Bachmann does, I think personally is the best ready to run factory weathering. I think they use Tampo stencils to get like rust patch stuff, and it looks really good. Especially check out the newer releases of the 16-ton mineral wagons that come ready weathered. They are really superb. Fortuitously enough, I've just done a weathering video, a simple how to weather. I used the HUO wagons from a Cura scale, using nothing more than 2 different Humbrol colour washes. No airbrushes involved, dead easy, and would you believe, first time I've bothered weathering wagons in about 20 years. So you don't have to be an expert at it to get a really good result. And actually after doing that, I'm going to start weathering a lot of other wagons. Some things I like pristine clean. Coaching rolling stock, I don't like weathered. I think it looks much better clean. Locomotives, 2 minds about. Some locomotives benefit from weathering, others don't. Rolling stock, by and large, I think looks better weathered. But that said, some things were heavily weathered, some weren't. You'd also have perhaps a smattering of wagons that literally were ex-works. So I like a variety. But as a rule, I've never really weathered my own stuff until now. But I could see myself getting into it. Leslie Gilpin, I'm in the UK but model North American. Quite a few people do. North American models are quite popular in the UK. Still niche, but popular. Diesel and Freight Spotter in Kent. My dad has not been feeling well. Hopefully be in tomorrow. Oh, sorry to hear about that. I hope he gets well soon. Stretch Edits. NCE Power Cab is a very good DCC system, and you can upgrade it without having to buy a new system. I like the one which you can also control through a computer as well. So I guess I'm in the market for a new DCC system. The old one will get then cycled out to run the Garden Railway. Andrew Johnson, can you use the same chips in double O locomotives in O gauge? Kind of, yes. It all depends on the current draw. Modern O gauge locomotives probably be just fine with. I know that Dapol Imperium chips are perfectly good for double O and O gauge, but just be careful. You know, if you're going to really load down a big O gauge loco and like thrash it, then you're probably going to have to get one of the higher power output chips. Richard Hall, highly recommend the GaugeMaster Prodigy Advance 2 with additional Prodigy Wi-Fi module. Any iOS or smartphone with apps can become another controller with Y throttle apps. Actually, yeah, that's another way I'd be interested in going. Stretch editor, I assumed wrongly you were in the US. Diesel and Freight Spot in Kent. Will you be... UK Train Fan 14, love your videos. Thank you very much. Stretch editor. See, actually, I wouldn't mind getting a few US stuff, have it trundle around my layout. I do quite like the idea. The Ballast Man, if you were paid $1 million to go back to DC, would you ever go back to DC for that amount? Yeah. £1 million is a lot of money, you know. I'd pay off my mortgage, and I think of the fun you could have. And if the only thing would be that you had to use DC, that is not a hard thing to do. So yeah, hand over the £1 million. Ka-ching! James Carroll, I prefer DCC with Wi-Fi. Plug it into my computer and entire layout is Bluetooth enabled. 2 wires and 1 cable to a booster unit. That's it. That's an interesting idea. And actually, the booster unit, if you get a big enough, a chunky enough one, it'll run the entire layout. Now, I think that's the area where DCC really does excel. And I'm not currently using that functionality of DCC, and maybe that's why I'm saying, you know, it's not the killer app that I was hoping it was. But maybe that's the upgrade that I need to convince myself of its massive merits over DC. Don Cragen, the west coast of the US has California at the south, not counting Hawaii, then Oregon, Washington, and Alaska. Yeah, I think to get to Alaska, you have to go into Canada and then out again. Alaska is not connected to the rest of mainland USA. Going down to 1259, you might just need the bigger PSU for the Prodigy. Somebody did say that. Canadian Rail fan, Jen, go for DCC all the way. Well, for the Canadian layout with large track, definitely, yeah. Stretch edits, Jenny, wouldn't you get the same effect notching the track every 60 feet? Possibly. Don Cragen, if you're driving, you have to go through... Yep, yeah, I just said that. But you said it before me, but I've only just got to the comments. I'm well behind on the comments here, so do bear with me. I will get to your comments eventually. Jonathan Kelly, personally I use DCC as it's what I always started off with. Yeah, you know, I started on DC myself, which is probably why I was slow to change over. But I think anybody coming new to the hobby now probably would go DCC. There's a lot of good starter sets out there. Hornby do a few. And whilst the control, on Backman as well, and whilst the controller might be very basic and you will ultimately upgrade it, it's a good starting point. Lynette 12DD, take care Jenny. I'm off to have my dinner and watch Emperor of the North. Oh, good. Oh yeah, you enjoy that. Let's have a look. Ham Shackleton, for a new layout, don't fasten anything down for a good while because there's always something you want to alter. Yeah, to some extent. I think by the time you're on your 4th or 5th layout, like I am, excuse me, you kind of get a sense of what you do and don't want and how to do it. So I fastened stuff down as I went along with WareYard, and I haven't regretted anything yet. Leslie Gilpin, not plugging, but my last trip in 3 videos posted recently. Oh, don't apologise. Perfectly welcome. You're a loyal and trusted follower of the channel, so don't worry about it. I don't mind you plugging them. UK Train Fan 14, which do you prefer, DCC or DC? I have to say that I prefer DCC, but it's not as clear-cut as you might think. I think DC still has its merits. Gary Dykes, for DCC advice, the person to speak to is Jeremy at Digitrains. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Digitrains. Ben Davis, have you seen the new Hornby 48DS Yes, I have. I saw the pre-production samples at the Hornby stand at Alexandra Palace. I do have one on order, just waiting for it to arrive. Knowing my luck, like it was with the B2 packets, the one that I've ordered will be the livery that comes out last. But I do know they are out. Feedback I've heard from people is that they are very good, but, the conflat wagon is an older style moulding, and the conflat wagon that has pickups in it, a lot of people are saying is a bit disappointing. Carol Taylor, I missed out on the last edition of the Great Model Railway Challenge Series 4 to 5, unable to pick up via Channel 5. My 5 is the thing you need. I had a lot of difficulty watching that. Couldn't get it on the Xbox One. Couldn't get it through the Blu-ray player. Had to watch it on my iPhone. There's nothing more tragic than being sat in front of a 50-inch plasma screen watching television on an iPhone. What is that about? Modern technology, eh? Hi everyone. Hi Leslie Dixon. Good to see you. The Ballast Man, when I bought the Hornby J36 Maud one, I was really satisfied with the TTS sounds, but for money, as I'm a student, I'll stick with DC. Yeah, DCC can be very expensive. At the moment, I'm spending literally hundreds of pounds, and I'm buying in bulk at the best possible prices, but I'm spending hundreds of pounds on chipping most of my fleet. I'm at about 100 locos chipped so far, but yeah, it is expensive. Even, at like 10 quid, 15 quid a loco, it's still a lot of money. And I'm trying to put a few sound chips in there, because why not? James Carroll, Jenny, the rock plant. Can I grow them in the garden here in Florida, USA? There'll be different sets of plants that grow in that climate. I think the best thing to do is check a local garden centre. Go and have a look around a local garden centre and see what they've got and see what fits the bill for you. Plants that are native to the UK, I suspect, would not grow in Florida very well because of the excessive heat, perhaps. I don't know. I really don't know. The Don Juan, would you not like to use the Fowler Road system on your layout? I find it a bit gimmicky. I think I get very bored very quickly. And in all honesty, I would suggest that I don't have room for it. Warrington Train Spotter 2778. What is your poison, Jenny, this week? Brandy? No. Speaker Burko single malt Scotch whisky 10-year-old is what I'm sipping from this glass. But for the main, I am rehydrating because it's actually quite warm in here with Celtic Spring, which is fizzy water with a little dab of just like orange cordial in. Now, let's have a look. Somebody said something about burning up double. I think it's moved again. So if I've missed your comment, I'm not missing your comment. It's just that this is like shifting all the time. It's really annoying. Double heading won't burn out the motors unless the speeds are completely mismatched. A little bit of mismatch is fine. I've never had a locomotive burnout, never, and I've double headed so much different stuff. They tend to just skid if they're ridiculously mismatched. But yeah, I've never had a problem. Carol Taylor, Jen, can you fit sound on DC engines? You can, but TTS chips won't work. They won't give you sound when running on DC. More expensive chips will, but it's basic sounds, and you're essentially paying a lot of money for something to just go chuff, 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 and you don't really get any control over it. The Ballast Man, so I couldn't run around my setup. I decided to make my own. LNAO J36 is DC, and I'm really happy with first ever renumbering. Good for you. Leslie Gilpin, my power cab will run 7 or so locos N-gauge at once. Carol Taylor, same as myself, Jenny, points, lights, etc. Ah, right, yeah. Oh, Bolton Model Railway Club, good evening to you. Good to have you along. This is the Model Club down at Bolton Trinity Street Station between platforms 4 and 5. Great to have you along. Sorry I'm running so far behind on the comments. J. Paul Anderson, I don't even like running my trains. Built mostly larger dioramas until now. I know I'm weird in that way. No. See, I enjoy building the scenery. It's the building that I enjoy. And actually, it's... running trains is secondary for me to building the model. Viaduct Central Model Railway, hi to you. Leslie Dickinson, love the rant, Jenny. Carol Taylor, I'm running different buzz bar feeds to point signals, then track works fine that way. Warrington train spotted 2778. Sadly, Angus, not everyone is going to like what you put on YouTube. Sadly, that is the case, and some people feel the need to vote your videos down. Don't bother about it. Don't be bothered by it. It happens. The world is full of idiots, and the internet gives them the anonymity for them to sit under the stairs in their parents' house, in their dirty Y-fronts, typing nasty comments and voting videos down, and actually, ironically, they're just helping you because the interaction mechanics. Ben Davis, thanks for the live stream. You're welcome. Leslie Gilpin Carroll, I have some DCC sound locos from USA which will make basic sounds but need lots of volts to get the devils to run. Kato and others make plug-in sandboxes, yeah. Viaduct Central Model Railway, I've just uploaded my Hornby Family Fun Project Part 4. If anybody wants to check, thanks. No problem. Everybody take a look at that. I don't mind, obviously don't take the rip, but I don't mind people promoting their own channels. A little bit, yeah. Mark Wilson, I heard the best way to deal with trolls is to expose them to sunlight. Yeah, then they just sort of go, bright light, bright light. Also, atomic wedgies tend to work quite well as well. Expose them as the losers they are. Lil Goth, you like Civ? Beware of Gandhi. His words are backed by nuclear weapons. Yeah, the other thing as well is because of the way the game's programmed, that if you play against Gandhi, there's a bug in the software which means that by the end of the game he becomes extremely aggressive, and it's because the game notches back the difficulty levels that the computer players play as the game wears on. But Gandhi was so low it looped back to the top, so he becomes hard as nails, so you just got to watch out for that. Canadian Railfan, just doing the wiring the layout and using bus wire for layout. Leslie Gilpin, which part of Canada do you model? Carol Taylor, thank you, Leslie. We'll look into that. Been looking into Cato. I hear a lot of good things about Cato. I do like the look of their inset track. Oh, Canadian Railfan, the pack with Peckett and wagons. I must check up with my usual supplier. That should be around. I do have one on order. Ben Davis, I always pick DC, but I hope to get them all DCC with sounds, but would be great. Take a long time. Yeah, you can do it slowly. Don't worry. Carol Taylor, very true, Jenny, was in SW17 at first, then slowly moved to Margate in the mid-60s. Right. Robert Henshaw, hi Jenny, sadly I love the idea of DCC, but I have about 200 locos, most of the older Hornby mainline airfits can't be DCC fitted. No such word as can't, they can be, but it takes a bit of work and you have to be careful which chips you pick. Yeah, the vent van with sound, that's what I was talking about before. Oh, it's just jumped! Done that again. Oh, gotta find my place again. Right. Boom, boom, bish, bash, bosh. Station Road, Model Railway. Quite right about borough place names. I'm based in Christchurch, New Zealand. Yeah. Leslie Gilpin, I've a list of my locals and identified which will stay DC. Probably 70 out of 170. Yeah, I reckon that I've got maybe 20 that will stay DC, usually because they're split chassis older locos. Robert Henshaw, Jenny, there's a New York in Lincolnshire near me. Yeah, I've seen that actually on road signs. Carol Taylor, have DCC ready on my new stock. Stephen Graham, good evening Jenny, love your channel, thank you very much. Wolfie Wolf, please stay away from those blue Scotch lock car wiring type connectors. They pinch the wires, sometimes cutting the strands, and if you're using the layout to the limit of the wiring, it can cause melts. Yeah, I actually use the big RS component ones. Hi Rice, hi Jen, great vlog. I saw about weather in coal wagons and had to go. Work well, thanks. P.S. The coal loads look great, thanks. Yeah, the best coal loads I've ever actually seen. From Acura scale, if anybody's interested. Rails of Sheffield are stockists. Stretch edits. Jenny, your chat is about 10 minutes behind the comments. I'm really sorry about this. I am trying to go as fast as I can. Carol Taylor, 95, I have the old Trying Princess Elizabeth and Doc Shunter. Both run well. They are reliable. Always with that smell of ozone when they run. Yeah, Ham Shackleton, I used chop block connectors before, but had some split where the clamp screw goes through, giving an intermittent connection. That was the devil to find. Use very, very fine, narrow screws. Don't let it stress the plastic. Don Cragen, there's a town named Newcastle in both Washington and in Wyoming in the US. And also, don't forget, in... is it Northern Territories? There's one in Australia as well. James Carroll, Jenny, 2 Egg is 1C community name that isn't derived from England. Yeah, there are places that have native names, and also there's a lot of Dutch and French and Spanish. Canadian Rail Fan, my layout is Canadian American, 50 feet by 30 feet. That is a good layout. Leslie Gear Dickinson, I love GMRC, the first series, but as you say, Jenny, the second series is much better. Yeah, they found their feet. Otis GB, will GMRC come back for a third time? I'm going to wager yes. Leslie Gilpin, it's massive Canadian Rail. It is, definitely. Robin Dow, Jenny, I stole your idea for a filler yard under the main board. I'm working on it. Love the channel. Yeah, it's a great idea. One thing I would say is I should have done it before I built the upper layer. But, you know, retrofitting it in, what I've proved is you can retrofit an under the baseboard fiddle yard. And it does work. Richard Hall, Hornby's weathered locos of late appear to have ploughed a cornfield. Yeah, I've not got any of the more modern weathered ones. Certainly, my Q1 is factory weathered and it is subtly done. Ham Shackleton, weathering. Watch Jenny's vid from a couple of days ago. Boom! Thanks for the plug, Ham Shackleton. Much appreciated. Hugh Forsyth, hi Jenny, just working on a new layout. Could you tell me how far would the power go around the track with a 12-volt power pack? I couldn't tell you, but it's probably much further than you think. Mark Wilson, spent the week at the Severn Valley Railway diesel gala, went behind a double-headed Class 17 plus Class 14. Cool. Carol Taylor, swings and roundabouts. Otis JB, I agree with your views on Daple's weathering. I don't like their wagons in general, cheap and plasticky, and they just don't compare with their locomotives. You get what you pay for. Yeah, a lot of the Dapole range, I tend to steer clear of. There are the odd wagon. There was the long wheelbase Western Region XGWR ventilated fruit wagon. I like that. And they did the old, it's actually a former Hornby Double R model. The Blue Spot Fish Van is actually quite a reasonable model. I know Hornby produced a super duper detail one, but actually the what used to be Hornby Double R model still holds its own. Ian White, I'm a bit late joining tonight. Very good question. Oh, thank you very much. Berry120, hello, sorry. Joining a bit late today, but great topic. I guess I'm a rarity as I enjoy building all the DCC equipment, controllers, decoders, etc. from scratch. Yeah, Melanie does that as well. It's a long process, involves electronics design and coding, but quite satisfying when done. I guess so, yeah. Berry120, I believe we spoke briefly about the Lace DCC decoders on Facebook a couple of days ago. You stress tested one, I think. Yes, that's right. I did stress test one, and I think we came to the conclusion that they're probably not suitable for older locomotives with a higher current draw, and also probably best not putting them into locomotives that are very constricted so the heat has nothing to dissipate. I stress tested a 21 pin one in a Helgen class 1 to 8, so there's a lot of empty space in there, and that gives plenty of room for the heat to dissipate, plus a very big metal casting chassis which acts as a good heat sink. Otis JB, some locos, especially diesels, look good with weathering, but on some it just ruins a lovely livery. Yeah, I almost went and cried when on GMRC this Saturday painted a beautiful, I saw it and thought the same, beautiful London and North Western Railway web coal tank in acrylics. That was sacrilege. I do hope that wiped off afterwards. Carol Taylor, we all learn by our mistakes. It's the very first out. Yeah, you learn a lot more by your mistakes than your successes, it has to be said. Stretch edits, my control is NCE Power Cab, which has a USB module connected to my laptop and use GMRI. That allows me to run a throttle from my mobile phone if I wish. Yeah, there's a lot of these things about. They are good. Berry120. Not sure if it's been mentioned before, but for those interested in dabbling with electronics but not confident enough to design their own kit, the Merg stuff is a good alternative. Yes, I have heard good things about that. Brockwell Lane. What's this new Helgen Kerno diesel shunter that's coming in 00 gauge? Oh, interesting. There are a lot of the pre-tops diesel shunters that do look interesting. Some of the ex-LMS designs, like with a flywheel drive. I think they were Hawthorne Leslie design. are quite interesting little beasts and something that's quite easily forgotten, I guess. A Bagnall. Interesting. Ben Davis, which one, the 48DS, did you order? I think I ordered the War Department one, but I'll be honest with you, I can't remember. Tulia 015, I can highly recommend the ECOS controller. Makes things very simple, and having pictures of your loco showing you which ones you are controlling is fantastic. Yeah, there's certainly ones that are more in advance than the one that I'm using, which is the pretty basic Gauge Master Prodigy Advance. So yeah, certainly you can make the experience much easier. Richie War Department Sutton, what got you started into railway modelling? My dad, basically. He was looking for an excuse to get his Hornby 00 down out of the loft. And whereas he was quite content with a more toy-like railway, I developed a much more creative interest. And after university, when I got back into railway modelling, I decided I really wanted a proper, with scenery and stuff, railway model. And I worked out a lot of the skills needed. Mark Rice, hi Jen, I work at a school, and one thing I saw was DT and the design and technology in the art department is into and watching GMRC and getting the kids into modelling and making buildings, etc. with the kids. That is great, actually. Yeah, because there's a lot of transferable skills, and just because it's ostensibly a model railway, there's a lot more modelling besides model railway, and a lot of the skills are transferable. There's like vehicle modellers, people who make these fantastic models of cars and stuff and tanks, military modellers, diorama modellers, war gamers. Don't underestimate what Games Workshop is up to. Ostensibly it's for a game, with your tape measure and your dice and stuff, but the way that they paint and finish some of those models is amazing. Hello. No, I'm still good, thank you very much, but thanks for the offer. Right. Ooh. Just keep an eye on what's going on down the side of the house.
Sorry, what's going on?
So we're just, something getting picked up on the cameras. So what are they doing?
Looks like a drug deal.
No, they're little kids. I think they're just messing about.
Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah, they're just kids messing about, but just bear with us a moment.
Go back to your live streaming. They're just arsing about. It's fine.
Yes, like,
hey guys, just kids being kids, but Jen is paranoid because we had the house attacked by a bunch of kids once.
Yeah, we've been attacked a few times, unfortunately, which is, it's a shame.
These things happen. Anyway, there was one guy who was asking when you started building your yard, and it was about January, wasn't it?
Something like that. Sorry, I do have a top on underneath. I'm getting so hot now.
No, you haven't.
Yeah, you pull it down so I don't flash my underwear at people.
So, whoever it was, I can't remember who it was. Have a look for Building the Loft Layout. It's
a full playlist.
It's a playlist on the channel, so you'll be able to see the progress. And it was actually quite impressive. Plus, she used one of my little camera tricks. I had an infrared lens on the camera, so she used that, and it gave us a very interesting view.
Yeah, first and only time we've actually used it.
Right, you sure you don't want a cup of tea?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, bye-bye.
Canadian Rail Fan. Jenny, at the moment I'm running 250 car train with Big Boy and Smoke and Sound Hellfire. That does sound good. I think the longest train I've ever run was about 100 wagons, and that took some doing, it has to be said. I think I was double heading on DC, and they were all modern Bachmann wagons, well maintained. Foxhill Railway, good evening, my dear. Oh, it's jumped again. Good evening, my dear Jenny. There we are, got it. Good evening to you, James Carroll. Jenny, to just let you know in the comments, you're only behind 365 and counting, average 6 per minute. Oh, stretch edits. Wow, that's a big train, Canadian Rail Fan. Ben Davis, do you see the new Hattons train pack with P-class and etc. did last week, and have you ordered? Haven't seen them. I haven't gone looking, but I will go and have a look. Actually, I do do a lot of work with Hattons, so I'm interested in looking into that. Otis JB, I used to post a lot on my channel. I haven't for about a year. Maybe I should start again. Yes, certainly do. LMS Fan 13065, could you do an 040 and 060 running session? I certainly can. Robert Hencher, the world is full of idiots. Jenny for PM, speak your mind. Oh yeah. I'm just too forthright. I tell people how it is. I don't think I'd work as a politician because they're like slimy little poos. Foxhill Railway, Canadian Rail Fan. That's a long train. It certainly is. West Blythe MPD. Hi Jenny, how are you? I'm very well, thank you. It's good to have you along. Gamehammer Classic Gaming, aka the Cupboard Monkey. The day Jenny is up to date with the comments will be a dark day for us all. Malcolm Poole, hi, I am new, love your reviews. Thank you very much. I always feel really honoured that people like watching my humble channel. And I do keep trying to do videos that people want to watch. And generally speaking, I think I'm hitting the mark. I'm trying to get a good variety. I'm trying to cover building models, how-to guides, new product reviews, and also, I like to go out and visit things, shoot the breeze with you guys. So I like to think that this channel offers a very wide-rounded choice of stuff. So, there's always going to be stuff that you're interested in watching. Let's have a look. Where are we? Hermitage Road. Hi, Jenny. A bit late. How are you? Hello from soggy Cornwall. It's soggy up here as well, actually. It's been chucking it down all day. Had builders in laying a new drain. And you could tell there were like people trying to work outside and lay concrete because it just hammered it down. Which is actually the reason why we're putting the new drain in. Had a problem with flooding, so new drain should fix that. Ben Davis, I love to put load in wagon. Yeah, it does improve a lot of wagons. And as I said before, those Acura scale loads for the HUO wagons are some of the best that I've ever, well, the best I've ever seen. I did try fitting them to Hornby HTO wagons. They look like they might fit, but they're actually slightly too wide, just so you know. Mark Wilson, I live in Dudley, New York State. Yam, all right. Grand, yeah, Dudley. Yeah, from Dudley. Which, if you're wondering, Dudley, which is near, sort of between Wolverhampton and Birmingham in the UK, that's how they speak. I'm from Dudley. Canadian rail fan. Foxhill Railway, I can get up to 575. That is a lot. Mark Wilson. Funny how Sam's trains got lambasted for running a model train in the water. Then GMRC copied it with no comments. Poor old Sam. Unfortunately, we were talking before about the trolls and the people who live rent-free and you live rent-free in the head. And unfortunately, probably had a lot of very vocal trolls. It was a bit gimmicky, it has to be said. And it's pretty common knowledge that 12-volt DC trains running in ordinary water. Now, if you put salt in that water, it would be a different matter. It would stop working. But, yeah, one of those things, I guess. I thought that was an impressive model, it has to be said. I could see that doing the exhibition circuit. In terms of winning GMRC, I think, they built an exhibition, a very novel exhibition model, but it was like, that was their big thing and there wasn't really a lot else. But certainly, that was an impressive model and I would like to see that on the exhibition circuit. Paul Blanchard, hi Jenny, I like the technical side of DCC. Yeah, some people do. Melanie Lewis really loves that as well. Like the challenge of matching speed, acceleration, deceleration, etc. on contests. Love your channel, by the way. Thank you very much. Getting a lot of love going on. That's grand. And I get into trouble if I don't plug all the boring bits. You want to go and put the kettle on, now's a good time. We have Super Chat. If you really want to donate, feel free. You don't have to. And also we have Patreon as well. And you can find us over on Patreon. And we're on Teespring with the merchandise. Great merchandise. Oh, she's taking it away. And also buy my books. You can get them through Amazon or the publisher's website. It's grand. Right. You can come back now that the kettle's on. Ian White. I think it's going to be a permanent way loco. I think I have a link if that's okay. Yeah, sure. Post a link. That's absolutely fine. Ooh, it's just jumped. Just jumped. Fox Hill Railway. Where are we? Fox Hill Railway. Canadian Rail fan. Wow, mate. Yeah, I know. That is a lot. Yeah. Let's have a look. Robin Dow. Jenny, a challenge for you. I have an Airfix GWR 042 tank loco that has the most complicated pickups and way power feed to the motor. I just gave up. I think, yeah, I know the one you mean. It should be possible because at the end of the day there'll be two wires. At some point there is a power feed to both sides of the motor commutator, and that is the point that you insert a DCC chip into if you're going to. But yeah, some of these older locos where DCC was never even envisaged can be a nightmare. Hence the problem with split chassis locos. Richie War Department Sutton, I use traction engine ash for my volunteering job for the model railway. It works brilliantly. It does, but it can be quite messy. I've used coal ash from our stove downstairs when we use smokeless fuels, the ash that's left over. And also, I mean, I've never used it for my father's traction engine, but what I have used, my father's traction engine, I remember cleaning out the bottom of the bunker for the coal dust, and I used that on my model railways. It was perfect. New Mills Model Railway, loved your 1920s running session. The layout suits the loco as well, actually. Well, thank you very much. Though the eagle-eyed will have spotted an intercity livery 37 and an awful lot of BR Blue diesels and rolling stock that wasn't really suited, but it was kind of a spur of the moment thing. As everybody knows, ready to run pre-grouping stock can be quite tricky to get. So yeah. It makes a nice change, and it gave some of that stock an airing. Brockwell Lane, are the producers from GMRC going to Worley looking for future participants? Possibly they are. If they are there, they're likely to be there on the Saturday, I believe. Or at least they were last year, so just so you know. Fox Hill Railway, your weathering vid was ace. Brilliant! If you think it's ace, don't forget to share it. Let everybody know. We've got to make it go viral. Can we do that? Canadian Rail fan, Jem, my layout got 25 road roundhouse with working turntable. I've got to see pictures of this. This sounds like a fabulous layout. Cranky Chris, I'll have a cuppa, please. Working and repairing my O-gauge kit-built Prairie as well as listening to you. Oh, well, brilliant. That is a worthwhile thing to do. The Urban Air Softer, will you be getting the Helgen 25? I am interested in it, it has to be said. Am I nearly up to date? I think I'm nearly up to date on the comments here. James Carroll, Jenny, yes, this channel covers a multitude of modelling aspects, and the two women are certainly well-rounded. What, the twins? Behave yourself. Canadian Rail fan, once I got 3 big boys triple-headed on layout on my friend's layout with a 1,500 cars. Gosh, how do you stop them from pulling in on the corners? That was always the limitation for me, that kind of, the way that the wagons at the front of the train will just suddenly plop straight over onto their side because of the pull on the corners. The Growler Blackwood N-gauge layout, just running my trains and listening to the crack. Great way to spend a Monday evening. It is, isn't it? The Jenny Monday Club for the win. Stretch edits. Quick folks, start typing. Jenny is nearly caught up. I know. Ben Davis, I hope to get the War Department 48 DS2. Yeah, I think the works liveried ones come out. There's the Scottish distillery. I can't remember, was it Johnny Walker or no Queen Anne or something like that liveried one. I think there's 4 that's been announced, or is it 3? But either way, we are going to see more re-liveries of that. I think it's going to be another really successful model from Hornby, just like the W4. And possibly like the B2 is proving, so yeah. Carol Taylor, 87 online from 128. Robin Dow, I use a Bachmann EZ command with 2 controllers and their power booster. Yeah, I do need to investigate this, putting more power to the track, because I do have a problem with it crashing the controller at times. The Urban Air Softer, have you got a Daypole 73? If so, have you had any issues like squeaking, etc.? I do have a Daypole 73. It's from the very first batch. It's a BR Blue. It's something like 73124 or something like that. In just small logo, rail blue, yellow fronts. I've not had any problems with squeaking. I have DCC fitted it, and that's where I've run into one issue. I think it's the cab lights. I can't get them to turn off. The cab lights appear to be permanently on and separate from the control function, the auxiliary control functions. It's like they're just hardwired to the track, which I find very, very irritating. So if that's a design flaw, that is a stupid design flaw. Because it means if it's sat on the track, the cab lights are permanently on regardless. Leslie Gilpin, if I started modelling a UK layout, my other half would go ballistic. Well, I've got a very understanding partner. She thinks they look pretty. Ben Davis, thanks for doing the pre-grouping video. Well, you're very much welcome. That's quite all right. Mark Wilson, is it too late at night to have a Bombay bad boy pot noodle? It is never too late for a pot noodle. Food of the Gods, certainly the Thai green curry one. Have you tried them? They're really nice. And the chicken korma ones smell like wee wee, but taste really nice. Otis JB, it's always nice to listen to something in the background. I'm scratch building an SECRD class. Oh, that is a beautiful loco. And it's going rather well, especially for a first attempt. Are you going to be attempting the fully ornate SECR livery? Because that is going to be probably the big challenge. Carol Taylor, thanks Jenny, she'll try that. You're welcome. Canadian Railfan, well, curves so gentle they're fine. Yeah, excuse me. So that if you're space starved, you tend to end up with some quite tight curves. Although I haven't put it to the test in the loft, but I had about 70 wagons behind a locomotive trundling around up there, and it handles quite well. And it doesn't even look crowded. It's really great. I did have a 19 Mark 1 coach train going around. Again, it looked just fine. It was nice. Fox Hill Railway. I'm currently painting walls, barriers on my layout. No better way to watch the paint dry than listening to this fab stream. I will take that as a compliment. But yeah, I like to model with what I tend to do is I've got the computer up in the loft in Weir Yard, internet connection, and it'll just run Netflix. It's an older computer. It's actually getting quite old. It's probably over 10 years old now. It's only got 1.5 gigs of RAM. It's still running XP Professional. I can't remember the clock speed of the processor. It's something like 2.3 gigahertz, and it just runs Netflix. So what I like to do is I just put stuff on in the background. Generally a film or a TV series that I've seen before, so it's not going to draw my attention. Or even I used it to play DVDs as well, which does really well actually. Which of course it does. My old AMD K6 300 megahertz with its DXR2 decoder card quite happily played DVD. Now there's a blast from the past. Yeah, and there's just something on in the background. Oh, excuse me. Right, Richard Hall, Daypole 73, squeaking may be caused by low sandpipes, hence may need a tweak away from the railhead. What you would tend to find with that is that they catch on things like points. My guess on a squeaking loco is something in the drivetrain. What I would suggest is lubricating the gear towers is the first stop. If that doesn't fix it, then it could be motor bearings as well. They're quite easy to get into, and just very gently lubricate all the bearings, the worm gears, and the gear towers, and see if the squeak goes away. If it doesn't go away, it could be tight fitting gears in the gear chain. I had a Bachmann Class 8 that did that. It used to squeal like a stuck pig. But yeah, just trial and error, see what's causing it. Let's have a look. The Urban Air Softer. Yeah, Jenny, the cab lights are not controlled by the decoder. Is there any way to turn them off short of just cutting the wires to them? Which seems like a stupid design, it has to be said. Is that just a design fault that they've mucked up, or is there something I'm missing? Canadian Railfan. Jenny, I bought a Rapido Canadian locos. 4 of them, $600. Yeah, they're not cheap. Rapido are good, but not cheap. Carol Taylor obtaining code 75 with 100 track contacts for points will be coming soon. Canadian Railfan. Jenny, you should try all my friends and mine, big boys with over 3,500 cars. That is a lot. Will they even fit on your layout? Because they'll be like bogey hoppers and bogey vans and stuff. So, gosh, that is a lot. Do you have a layout big enough to put all that on? Otis JB, yes I am. Always ambitious. Not sure whether to use masking tape or a bow pen, but I'm not there yet. Yeah, good luck there. Really good luck. You need a steady hand. Stretch Edits. NS Modeler had a US freight which tipped over on a curve with some empty centre beam cars at the front recently. Just like the real thing did a month back on the Horseshoe Curve in... Is that Pennsylvania? PA. Is that Pennsylvania? I'm not familiar with all of the shorthand designation for American states. But yeah, I saw photos of that. So it does happen in real life as well. The Growler Blackwood N-Gauge layout now running Daypole's new N-Gauge Class 50 large loco with some Mark 1s. Superb model. Yeah, the new Daypole models are superb. Mark Wilson, while I'm modelling in the garage, I watch episodes of The Train Now Departing and Bob's Model World. Very old program. Yeah, Bob's Model World. That's what, like, late 70s, early 80s? Berry 120, another random point that's just come to mind in favour of DCC. Asymmetric braking is an incredibly simple yet effective method of basic automation and can be easily tied in with a signal. Yeah. Oh, the other thing actually is back EMF. If you've got gradients, the loco will climb a gradient at exactly the same speed as it comes down, regardless of load. And that is a really good function in DCC if you've got gradients on your line. So you don't end up with, on DC, to get enough power for the loco to climb the gradient, you end up with it racing down the hill. DCC stops that. So that is actually a big plus for DCC. Mark Samways, catching you live at last. Welcome along. Good to have you aboard. Looking forward to your semi-final. Keep up the good works. Thank you very much. Yeah, I believe it's on this coming Saturday on Channel 5. Pat Doyle told me 8 o'clock, but the Radio Times is saying 7:45, so double check to be certain. But certainly, yeah, we're looking forward to it as well. You won't be disappointed. That's all I can tell you about it. Really, it's this semi-final is one not to be missed. You must watch it because just some amazing layouts, and that's all I can tell you, and plenty of drama as well. But yeah, they've definitely got the format a lot more honed in this year. Right. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Hold on. I'm photoreactive, so if I look at a light, I can tease a sneeze out. It's actually a really good trick. I hear things from people about it, say, you get the sneeze, and it's like, and it kind of toys with you. I never get that because if I look at a bright light, the sneeze comes out. So useful. The Urban Airsoft. Well, I don't think the 68 has controllable cab light unless I've been missing something. Yeah, I wonder if it's a common fault with Daypole locos. It's certainly very annoying. It's a bit like driving your car around at night with the map light on. Nobody does that. Richie War Department Sutton. What wagons and locos are everyone looking forward to being released? I think that for me, Prestwind silos, I know that Bachmann have kind of put a delay on them. I was really looking forward to Prestwind silos. I had one from the old Hornby 00 range, Super Detail. Actually quite a rare wagon, but I do have a mint inbox Prestwind silo wagon. And I was really looking forward actually to the Bachmann offering of that, but they appear to have put it on hiatus, on hold. And I do hope that we don't see that sort of disappear into the deep blue yonder in much the same way that the VEA Van Wide was for a very long time. I know the VEA is finally supposed to be coming through. I am looking forward to that as well. In terms of wagons that are definitely announced, they're definitely the ones that I'm waiting for. There's also the ex-LNER CCT from Hornby, but in BR Rail blue livery. I am looking forward to that. Canadian Rail Fan. Well, on garden layout, it's 500 feet by 500 feet, so just about fits. God, that must have cost you a fortune just for the track. Canadian Rail Fan. We were a little drunk. Oh, I can sympathise with that. Oh, it always seems like a good idea when you're drunk. Whiskey. Yeah, oh, I've got a spot. I get little spots on the side of my lips. It's really annoying. It's probably from wearing makeup or something. Yeah, boys, top tip from me. Don't wear makeup. It really messes with your skin pores. Will Tucker, loving the channel and live stream. Thank you very much. I'm slowly starting my new DC layout and want a Bachmann Blue Pullman. By the time I've saved up, there may only be new dearer blue-grey DCC one instead. Ah, right. I don't know if he's still open. He's certainly looking at shutting at some point soon. Holton Model Centre in Bolton. Google him, find a telephone number, ring him up. He might have one in stock from one of the previous releases. He definitely has the Class 411 with the A suffix in certainly Southern Railway green for a very good price. So worth checking out. And if you do ring him up, tell him I sent you. and ask him to be in touch, because I need to actually go down there before he shuts. I hope he hasn't actually already shut. And the Blue Pullman is a local. I wouldn't mind one myself. Leslie Gilpin, I'm old school. No computer in the shed, but an old radio gives me classic FM. Actually, I don't mind classic FM. I remember when they first started. Do you remember the test broadcast with all the bird songs? That was cool. Fox Hill Railway, a tissue, a tissue, a tissue, we all fall down. It's like Ring a Ring a Rosies, a pocket full of posies. Which actually, kids' nursery rhyme, is about the plague. Leslie Gilpin, I have a Canadian national caboose that's lit from the track, great on DC, but like a Christmas tree on DCC. Yeah, I know what you mean. Mark Samways, yep, it's earlier time. Have you covered off DC versus DCC already? Not quite. You know how it is. We do meander on the topic here. The Urban Airsoft, a cheeky plug for my Instagram account. That's fine. As long as you don't do it excessively, I don't mind, to be honest. Otis JB, I can't wait for the London... yes, from Kernow Model Centre. The London and South Western Railway brake van. Is that the Hornby have announced one, and Kernow Model Centre have announced a different diagram one. But I don't know what's happening with that, because DJ Models were handling the making of that, and they've gone bust. So I'm hoping that Kernow have kind of taken it to a new manufacturer, and then we will still see that. But yes, definitely London and South Western Railway brake van. I'm looking forward to that too. Thank you for reminding me that. Double-tendered bitten A4 from Hobby Backman's new Warwells with loads. I've heard people say that loads aren't so great on the Warwells, but certainly have you checked out the Hattons ones? They do look quite good. With the Oxford Rail, I think it's Cromwell tanks, do look very good. So don't neglect the fact that you can buy them without a load, and Oxford Rail do military vehicles that you can then load them with. Canadian Rail fan, here in Canada, got Christmas in shops. Yeah, we're getting the Christmas in shops already. It's not special anymore, is it? When I was a kid, you only got Christmas like in a few weeks before Christmas, and it was like, boom, gone by the 1st of January. Now it seems practically all year round. It's not special anymore. Otis JB, also still can't decide whether to go for Rails or Hornby or Terrier. Any ideas? Right, if you look back through my channel, I got an exclusive look of the Hornby versus Rails Terrier. It was a production model of the Hornby Terrier, and it was a pre-production model of the Rails Terrier, and it was the same livery compared side by side, and I stand by what I said then. The Hornby model is good. If the Hornby model had come along on its own, we would have said this is great. It has a few corners cut. It feels like it's a little bit rushed in places. The cab glazing is one of those areas, but the Rails model is the Rolls Royce of those models. It ups the bar. It goes over and above. And the thing for me, the standout highlights on the Rails Terrier for me was flush cab glazing. So when you looked into the cab, you didn't see a horrible clear bar of plastic. And a representation of the motion under the boiler. And when you compared them side by side, that was very, very visible. And I felt that was really, really good. But it's a bit like the Hornby versus Bachmann Class 8s. Bachmann Class 8 is a good model. The Hornby one is a better model, but it's more expensive. So you pay your money and you take your choice. So do you want the Rolls Royce or do you want the acceptable one? And if money's no object, I would say get the Rails one. If money is an object, consider the Hornby one. They're both good models, but the Rails one is certainly the best. But you pay for it. Canadian Rail fan. We're layout in my garden, but we run as a club. Always a good way to do it. Carol Taylor, use a power booster. I do need to do something in the loft at the moment. I can make the thing crash out if I try and run too many locos at once. The Urban Airsofter. Jenny, it always seems like a good idea when you're drunk. Also, Jenny sips whiskey. Don't mind if I do. But keep yourself hydrated, kids. Celtic Spring. Not Celtic. Celtic. It's only those bumming Glaswegians who call it Celtic. Why do they do that? Celtic football club, but it's Celtic everywhere else with a hard C. Anywho. Leslie Gilpin, I remember the classic FM bird song too. That was really great. I just wished I'd have recorded it because it was so relaxing and you kind of had that sort of ambient sound from the woods. It's probably on YouTube somewhere, actually. I must go looking for it. And then also they had the test signals and it was like boop, boop, and all this sort of thing. It was for the engineers checking out the transmitters and stuff. But yeah, I remember that. That must have been like early 90s. Yeah, it was... Because Classic FM launched at about the time that EMI was putting out the Classic Experience albums, and the first of those, in fact no, all of them came out on LP, but the first two were easy to get on LP. The second two really difficult. I did finally track them down, but yeah, so probably about 91, 92, I guess, for Classic FM starting up. Canadian Rail fan, Jenny, I've got an idea. All my locusts and cars running on garden layout. What, at once? Ooh, that would be a lot. Would it go all the way round and hook back up to the front? Now, I did that. And that's longest train video from a great many years ago. I did back when Trinity Road was actually fairly new. It was operational and fairly new. And I put a train on the tracks and ran it where it coupled back on itself. It actually was the longest possible train because it was just a solid train all the way around. Carol Taylor, Mark, look up Triang modelers. Many are there. Yeah, there's a lot of people still like the retro stuff. And if you ever go to Whalley, or actually in particular Alexandra Palace Model show, Railway Show, the London Festival of Railway Modelling, there are exhibition layouts with Triang, TT, Hornby 00, Hornby O gauge. They're there and running, and it's grand. The Urban Airsoft. I'm planning on getting a rake of the new fancy Mark 2Fs from Bachmann or some Oxford Mark 3s and a DBSO. Actually, yeah, the Oxford Mark 3 is a very good value for money, I've heard. Leslie Gilpin, there'll be Cadbury cream eggs in the shops before you know it. I've got news for you. They're already there. Canadian Rail fan. Well, in Canada, where I'm at, it's snowing. Well, actually, we've got the fire lit downstairs. This is why the house is quite warm. So, got the old vest top on. The Everset Pania. Jenny, I want to get into DCC. Any tips? Careful and methodical. I would suggest do it slowly over time. Have a core fleet of locos. But no real tips, I guess. Although Electra frog points wired up properly with the changing frog polarity work the best. Be wary of older Insel frog points because wheels can short on the frog. DC doesn't really bother with that momentary short. It doesn't bother it, but DCC it does. Carol Taylor, Hailing Railway is up for sale. Look it up. Yeah, I saw an advert about that. The miniature railway, isn't it? Canadian Rail fan. Well, I've got air raid side. Oh, man. I once heard one of those. It was coupled up to a V8 petrol engine that drove the impeller. That was loud. Carol Taylor. Hi Zoe, always wise to have cameras, CCTV. Yeah, definitely. James Petts, I seem to be late to the party this evening. I hope that I haven't missed any kitten-based discussion. No, the pussy is fine. Also, good evening. Good evening to you too. Ham Shackleton, Cadbury's cream eggs, horrible, sickly, sweet, gloopy thing. Yeah, I'm not. It's that fondant centre. I'm not keen on them. It has to be said. I prefer the caramel-filled eggs. Now there is ambrosia. Fox Hill Railway. Watch Oscar Paisley's channel. His channel is great for older railways. There are quite a few actually on YouTube. Even on my channel, it has to be said, there is some archive footage of my father's exhibition Hornby 00 layout running from late 1990s onwards. It might even be mid-1990s. Yeah, mid-1990s. So have a look. Do a search for Hornby 003 rail on my channel and you can lap up that Hornby 00 goodness. In fact, if you look at the new channel intro that's been in the last couple of videos, there's like a little snippet of it has made it to that. The Growler Blackwood Engage layout. Good night, one and all. Good night to you. It's been great to have you along, but don't forget, you can always catch up with anything that you've missed. This video goes up, processed, ends up on YouTube as an ordinary video, so you can watch it time and time again. You can also go back through all of the previous ones as well. Carol Taylor, that's where I've been to place a bid. Have I missed something? Where? Just looking back through the comments. Oh, right. You putting a bid in on the Hailing Railway. Robert Henshaw. Jenny, I love Super Detail locos, but the inner boy in me loves the retro locos. I do collect both, but lean towards the older retro stuff. They do have their charm, it has to be said. And I do still have a soft spot for Hornby 003 rail. It's what I grew up with. It was my childhood toy. Collected that with my father. Had massive collection. Still do, actually. I've started filling some of the display cases downstairs with some of the Hornby 00 from storage. I must do a video on that at some point. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, Hornby 003 rail for me always holds a charm. Not really. The Triang doesn't do much for me. But tin plate. It's the tin plate stuff really does. Right. Canadian Rail fan. Well, my kids still go to school. They close in Canada when minus 15 degrees C. Unlike you British, when inch of snow you close. Inch of snow is a couple of snowflakes. They're wets around here. And it always annoys me. Because I carry on. I've got that true Brit determination. Snow doesn't bother me. And I have, I've got a newer car now, but I've still got the old car. The Volvo 850, back when that was my only car. I can remember going to work in 6 inches of snow in that. And it's like a fairly low sporty car. Front wheel drive, low profile sports tyres. And I can remember driving through the snow and the front splitter underneath was actually ploughing the snow and it was kind of clogging into the radiator, and I still got to work. And what amused me was that on the motorway there were people who had abandoned stuff like Land Rover Discoveries, Vauxhall Fronteras, these sort of 4x4 things, the Chelsea taxis, these sort of pretendy 4x4, some real 4x4s as well, and they'd abandoned them in the snow. And the biggest gripe I had was that I had to kind of make my way around abandoned vehicles on the motorway. And I thought, if I can get through in a Volvo 850, what the hell are these Muppets doing? The Urban Airsoft are the Oreo-filled ones. Tell me more, Sensei. See, Oreo's more of an American thing, but we've more recently got like Oreo cookie ice cream and stuff. So we get like the like somebody's got some Oreos and like crunched them up and put them in ice cream and stuff. But I haven't seen actual Oreos. I probably haven't looked hard enough. They're probably out there, but yeah, that sounds interesting. I think for the interest of science, I must test these things. The Everset Pania, also well done on the Great Model Railway Challenge. Really enjoyed seeing you in there. Thank you very much. Well, you'll be seeing us this Saturday from 7:45 p.m. on Channel 5. Also watch it afterwards on Catch Up on My 5. And we are in the semi-final. I cannot tell you anything about it other than to say that GMRC Series 2 has upped the bar. The quality of the models is really good. The imagination is great. You are going to have to watch that to see what happens and to see who progresses on to the final. But you will not be disappointed. There is some great imagination going on and plenty of drama. So stay tuned and make sure that you watch that. Ash Bear. Hi there, Jenny. How are we? We are fine and we're doing grand. How are you doing? Leslie Dickinson. I still have my Hornby 00 stuff from when I was a kid. Yeah, I do too. It's mostly at my parents' house. But there's more and more sort of transferring over here, and it's making it into display cabinets. As my Bachmann and modern Hornby stuff gets moved out of display cabinets that are on the wall up into Weir Yard to actually be used and run, I've started filling those cabinets with classic Hornby 00, and it's really great to get that stuff out of storage. Where are we up to? Oh, Viaduct Central Model Railway. Hi, my next sub goal is 150. Please help me out. Great content coming your way. That's it, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe to Viaduct Central Model Railway, and also Angus's trains. What happened to Angus? Are you still there, Angus? He might have got pulled away, gone off to do something. But Angus's trains as well. We're trying to get Angus's trains over 100 subs, and we're trying to get Viaduct Central Model Railway up to 150. I can't keep helping you forever, it has to be said. At some point you have to reciprocate, get everybody you know to sub to me. I want to hit 10,000 by the end of the year. And my actual goal on you, I mean, it probably makes it sound really shallow. I'm what I actually want to do is get the plaque that you get for 100,000 subs. Oh, I'd love that. Canadian rail fan, well, I guess we're used to it. Hold on. Ian Haynes, I remember going to Ottawa by train with snow flying everywhere. Canadian rail fan, we have 3 feet of snow. I love the snow, it has to be said. You're knocking me off the top. Where are we up to? Fox Hill Railway, Chelsea Taxi. Yeah, don't forget, Faux by 4. That's F-A-U-X, Faux by 4, as well as another great term. Along with crotch rocket. I've heard crotch rocket an awful lot. You know, these sort of these people with the super high powered motorbikes, and who generally end up like overpowering themselves with it. Robert Henshaw, yes please, a video on Hornby 00 and a bit of history. I do have a Hornby 00 trains running video from when I had the layout out in the shed. And there are other videos as well. But yeah, certainly, maybe I will do something like that. Ham Shackleton, if you want to see snow, watch Hindu Cowgirl on the tube. Also, don't forget as well, model trains running in snow. I did a video of 00 gauge trains running on my garden railway layout. Like a ferret up a northerner's trouser leg was how I described it. But yeah, model trains do run in snow as well as water. Leslie Gilpin agreed, GMRC is much better all round. The Urban Air Softer, I'm happy because my local line is getting 195s in replacement of the almighty Pacer. Fair enough, new stuff doesn't do it for me, but yeah, Pacers are a bit... Ham Shackleton, Hindu without the K. Otis JB, speaking of GMRC, I didn't think Kathy was too bad this week, much less grumpy in a criticism. Right, yeah, and actually Gamehammer Classic Gaming, I can't believe how poorly Kathy has been coming across in this series. Playing bad cop just doesn't work on a show like GMRC. And what I've noticed is that Steve Flint tends to look for the good things in people's layouts, and he talks people up to the score that he gives. So he's looking for the positives. So it's like, I like this, they've done this, and for that I'm going to, they've crept up to a 3. Kathy, on the other hand, does this thing like, it's like she starts out at a 5 and looks for things to take points off. So it's a much more negative. Steve is positive. Kathy is negative, and it's like, well, I'm going to take points off for this, going to take points for that, and I will bring the score down to a 5. And when you look at it, a lot of the times, Kathy and Steve are giving much the same scores, but Steve talks the team up to that score, and Kathy talks the teams down to that score. And we've talked in the past about criticising stuff, and I'm sorry, Kathy, but Steve's approach is working better for me. People in glass houses and all that, you've got to be careful. You've got to come across as building people up. You can't be the Simon Cowell. I'm sorry, but it's the good cop, bad cop. Doesn't look good for the bad cop. London International, hi to you. Oh, it's just jumped. Boom. All right. Don Croggan, my first winter in Michigan, we had a snowstorm that was forecast to be 8 inches by ending the next day. Cool. James Carroll, Jenny Hershey's Chocolate and Ewing are going to partner up and produce the world's first chocolate-flavoured beer. Not sure about that in terms... Yeah. James Pets, you are very generous to these other channels. I know, I get told off for it, but why not? Small channels, I don't mind. I generally don't plug huge channels, not unless they wang me first, I don't know. But, unless it's a channel that I immensely respect. If you're into car videos, Scotty Kilmer, boom, he's the man. And he's got like millions of subscribers, so there we go. But I'm always glad to big up smaller channels. Nobody did that to me. Nobody bigged up my channel when I started. And I feel that, if you don't big up other people, you can't expect other people to big up you. So, what goes around comes around. I'm quite happy to big up some of these other channels, and some of them are really good. Angus's Trains, really great channel. Can't recommend them more highly. And also, don't forget, we've got Viaduct Central Model Railway, another good channel. And there's a lot of other people as well. If you look at people who are commenting on this channel. A lot of the regulars as well have really good channels too. So, don't. I'm quite happy to big other people up. Don Cragen, the National Weather Service updated the forecast to be 18 inches, but by the time we had 36 inches on the ground, that's a lot. When the storm ended, we had 7 feet of snow. I can only remember one time when we had snow like that round here, and it was just incredible. But rarely do we even get 6 inches here. Don Crook, and where they ploughed up in the corners of parking lots, it didn't melt off until 7 months later. Gosh. Ham Shackleton, don't forget to look up my YouTube channel too. Yes, everybody look up Ham Shackleton as well. Canadian Rail Fan, I have to say Kathy was all right this week. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I did felt that it was almost like she kind of mellowed a bit. My experience of being there during the filming, I was actually apprehensive of Steve. I've said this before. Steve Flint, we've dealt with over the years with each other via email. Never met him in person up until filming. And he He knocked back every article I submitted to the Railway Modeller saying it wasn't what they wanted or it wasn't good enough, wasn't their thing. And I felt like he was kind of poo-pooing my stuff. Probably wasn't, but it's just the way he came across in emails. So I was expecting him to be like Mr. Rivet Counter and be really like trying to be a Simon Cowell. And actually, Steve Flint, I cannot speak more highly of the man. He was a great bloke, great to get along with. Spent a lot of time just chatting and shooting the breeze. Always had a good word. Always, he'd always stop and chat with you. But I didn't actually interact a lot with Kathy. There was bits on camera, yes. But when the cameras weren't rolling, I saw very little of Kathy. I have no idea where she went. She kept herself to herself. And there were a few times, I'd see her passing and I'd say hello and she didn't stop to chat. Steve would. She didn't. Now, a lot of other people said she was great to get along with. Yeah, that's fine. Maybe I caught her on bad days. I don't know. But she seemed very distant around myself. But yeah, William Robinson. Hi, Jen. Fab to see you again. What's your favourite part of Weir Yard? Favourite part? That's a tricky one, I like the turntable. I really like the bit where there's 3 tracks parallel and then you've got the 4th track behind the retaining wall just before they go into the tunnels. I do like that bit as well, where the pond is. But it's really hard to say. I like it all. Leslie Gilpin. Kathy has had the tough job on GMRC too. Excuse me. You could argue, well, so is Steve. Both Steve and Kathy, what you've got to remember is what they're judging is effectively art in some degrees. It's not black and white. And when you judge anything creative and try and ascribe a score to it, it's always going to be subjective because what you like, what you love isn't necessarily what another person loves. So it's very much about opinion. For example, I hate rap music in the main. Certainly this sort of like new urban stuff, like, oh, bruv, I'm going to go gangster, and like heavily auto-tuned. I hate that music, but there are people out there, I am aware, who love that stuff. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in the charts. I cannot stand saccharine girl groups, but there are a lot of smaller kids who would beg to differ. Art is subjective. I hate modern art. I'm not that fussed by, some of this stuff where, like Jackson Pollock. I think his stuff is rubbish, but the art world begs to differ. I strongly dislike graffiti. I think it's just vandalism, but I have to say, I think that some, not all, but some of Banksy's artwork is quite simply genius. So, it's very subjective. What I love, another person may not. I know people who love, like Bachmann Class 150s, can't get enough of them. Javelins, can't get enough of them. Really cannot see what the interest is in those things. Class 47s, not my thing. I am aware a lot of people love those things. There are people who can't stand steam locomotives. I love them. So, it's very tough to judge anything. But, there's ways and means, I guess. I'd just probably be really quite generous. I did audition. I know I've said this before. I'm not bitter. I did audition for that. It's a big workload. She didn't get paid for the first series. She got just expenses, I believe. So she got screwed a little bit on the first series. And I couldn't have afforded to have done the job if that's all they were going to offer the first time round. But yeah, Logan Clary, is it safe to run funny smelling Limo locos? That is just like an ozone that you get arcing. I think you probably need to clean the commutator, get some electrical contact cleaner and just clean out the gubbins, the motor. It should be fine. Otis JB, imagine what the Monday Club would be if you had 100,000 subs. You wouldn't get a word in edgeways. Yeah, I'm going to have to... it's already reaching a point where I get well behind in the comments. I'm going to have to maybe start rethinking. Certainly, I know some of the bigger channels do live streams like this, and I don't know. They probably they use the super chat. Super chat is enabled. You can donate money. What happens when you do that? It prioritizes your comment. I'm not fishing for money. I'm just telling you how it works. And I suspect that once you hit 100,000 subs, you basically have to say, look, you have to chip in like 10 cents or something, or 10 pence. And then I can actually address that comment. Otherwise, it's kind of lost in the melee. But for now, I can try and keep up. Excuse me. Mark Samway. So the big question: will Hornby 00 work with DCC? Yes, all modern Hornby is pretty much DCC ready. Dead easy. Older stuff you can hardwire. I've seen people hardwire stuff right back to like Hornby 00 from the 1960s. Has and can be hardwired. You've got to be careful. Some of the older locomotives have a much bigger current draw, so you may need to use the more expensive chips that are designed for working with larger scale locos that natively have a larger current draw. The Urban Air Softer. Well, the beast from the east was here. I had a broken arm. Oh, sorry to hear that. Oh, it's just jumped again. Sorry. Derek Grant, has Kathy got a layout? I've never seen it, but she was not happy with a single track. Yes, Kathy does have a layout. It's American HO. I've seen little bits of it. It's not what I would model, but her modelling skills are good. But I think one of the things that I guess GMRC has probably fallen into the pitfall is they've not established her credibility. In the UK, she was largely unheard of before GMRC. I knew about her through YouTube, but she was much bigger in America because she's an American HO modeler, does a lot of stuff with the NMRA in America. And I guess what they needed to do was kind of have even just a 30-second backstory on each of the judges, establishing their credibility, and I think that would have gone some way. Mark Samways, it's time to get the Trying and Hornby 00 out in the next few months. To be honest, I might run some of my Hornby 00 two-rail locos on the DC track upstairs. The Avocet Panier, to be honest, I think it's good to have that diverse set of judges on a show, no matter what it's about. Yeah, and maybe you could argue there's not enough judges. Maybe what they need is a bigger panel of judges. Might be better, because the trouble is, if one of those two judges doesn't like something and gives it a low score, then that drags that down, and that doesn't mean that modelling's bad. It just means that judge didn't like it. So maybe having 3, 4, 5 judges might work better. A proper panel of judges, but then it's a trade-off. Is that workable on TV in that format? Otis JB, I felt Steve was more harsh this week. I also wanted Loco Ladies to get the wild card. I loved their layout and personality. Yeah, Kathy was very mean on the crochet trees. I liked them. I thought it was great. It was innovative. It was what the hobby needed to think outside the box. And I thought that her comments about the crochet trees were just wrong, fundamentally wrong. And certainly, you being a modeler makes you more attuned to the effort that goes into these things, and quite frankly, I think that she miscalled that, and what she said, she should have phrased it a lot differently. Stretch edits. Time for me to go. Night all. Great chat, Jenny. Thanks very much. You're absolutely welcome. Hopefully see you again next week. Gamehammer Classic Gaming. There's no need to plug huge channels. They've already made it. Ham Shackleton. Last time I looked, I'm up to 55 subs. Well done. Leslie Gilpin. I'm adding around 7 subs a week without trying, which suits me. Cool. Otis JB. Psst, Jenny, check out my channel. Tee. Okay, Otis JB. Everybody take a look. Foxhill Railway. Yeah, just like check out everybody on this channel. Otis JB, maybe Kathy has been watching the live stream and taking notes. All these episodes were filmed and in the can long before this. I told you now, the final was filmed a few months ago, so it doesn't change anything. J. Paul Anderson. Well, you're a professional writer, Jen. Surely your articles were good enough. Yes, actually they were. Sorry, I went off on a sidetrack. The thing was, the reason I griped about it and thought that maybe he had it in for me, which he didn't. He was an absolute gentleman and a star, great to get along with. All of those articles, without any edits or changes, went on to be sold to other magazines, and in a number of instances led to requests and commissioning for follow-up articles because they went down so well. And that was my gripe, that, why are you knocking back all my articles when other magazines are buying them and then going, that was really good, our readers loved it, can we have some more? It's like, there's nothing wrong with them. Mark Wilson, how long did it take to film the whole series? Each episode, so like heats, semis, things like that, they were filmed over 3 days. But you would arrive the day before and leave the day after, generally speaking. So you're looking at 5 days per episode. Now, some of them were filmed back to back. I do know that Heat 5 was filmed back to back with the semi-final one. So Team Grantham had just filmed what you've just seen, and then the very next day from filming the actual winning bit, they were straight in to the beginning of the semi-final that you're going to see on Saturday coming. Excuse me. But on other occasions, I think there was a break where they shut down for a week or two as well, just so the film crew could have a holiday. But by and large, I think in some instances there was maybe a day or two between each thing filming. But I guess it was filmed over maybe a month and a half, 2 months. Stu Hall, Jennifer, I'm new to model trains and layouts. Can you give me any idea what you think are best for buildings? I've seen cardboard buildings. What's your thoughts on these? It all depends on what you're happy building, what effects you want. Metcalfe buildings, they're card kits. They are actually pretty good, but lack some degree of texture. But they do work. I can highly recommend them. Some of the super quick kits as well. Some of them actually I do quite like. They're not there's not as big a range as Metcalfe. They're a lot older in some instances, and some of the kits I wouldn't recommend. But I use them and they're great. But then there's also resin buildings you can get from Bachmann do them, Hornby do them, and Oxford Rail do them as well. And they're all pretty good, but you pay a premium for them. And then you can have like plastic building kits, the likes of Ratio do them, Wills do them, Walthers as well, some very good stuff. And it's all about what you want and what your skills are. If you want a building that's just there and ready to roll, go for Hornby Scaledale, Bachmann Scencraft, or the Oxford Rail buildings, ready to plant, great buildings straight out of the box, but you will pay a premium for that. If you're happy to build stuff, if you want to do card kits, Metcalfe and Super Quick. If you want to do plastic kits, Ratio, Wills, Kestrel Designs is another one, Walthers. It's just simply what you want. In terms of skill levels, the card kits are actually, if you follow the instructions, they're not too bad to do. Plastic kits can be fiddly, but again, not too bad to do, but you still have to paint them. Painting can be a pain. The card kits, you don't really need to paint. So yeah, it's just my personal preference. I like kit bashing a lot, so I tend to use the card kits because they're easy to kit bash, but I've used all of the above. Gamehammer Classic Gaming. It took 200 years, so that's how it felt when stuff for it was being stored in my house. Yeah, it took over our entire conservatory for a good long while. Foxhill Railway. Serious question. Do you find it easy to do your modelling and having the GMR cameras behind you? For me, yes. What you've got to remember is I'm used to television. I've also got a lot of experience doing YouTube, so you get used to speaking to camera, you get used to dealing with cameras. I've been around film sets an awful lot. I've worked behind the camera on a number of things through work I did with PKE Lighting. And also my sister worked for Channel 4 for a long time on Time Team, got to go behind the scenes on that. So generally speaking, I've become very comfortable in that environment because I'm used to it. Prior to that, I worked at the BBC. I worked on the radio side of things an awful lot, so being in radio studios in front of microphones. Absolutely happy with all of that. But I guess that other people may have found it difficult, but actually you do adjust very quickly. Generally, it said within 24 hours, you go from being nervous around cameras the first time to almost forgetting like they're there. So it's you just concentrate on what you're doing. It's not an issue. Angus's Trains, 85 subs, brilliant work. Canadian Rail fan, Kathy's face when you did Fast Build Hill is like, I will steal that for vid. Yeah, well, if you say, I don't know, has she done a video on that? I don't know. I must ask, actually, there is a full 18-minute video that was filmed of that. I keep meaning to, I don't know whether it's been junked or whether the footage still exists somewhere, but certainly I would love to be able to put that entire video up in its long form. I think that it's something I've suggested to KBG for GMRC 3, that they need more internet content to perhaps show more of the building process, the footage that doesn't make the show for time constraints. They can put out on YouTube, social media, like a lot of other programs do stuff like that with little snippets to help promote the program, but also get some of this other material out there. Kathy was when she saw it, she refused to believe that I'd built it that quickly. I think the film crew refused to believe, but then I did the other end, and Kathy actually watched it. She was behind the camera watching me do that, and I did showboat a bit, so I went faster than I might normally do. That has to be said. So I rushed makes it sound like I botched it, but I went faster, as fast as I could because I wanted to prove a point. But yeah, remarkably easy technique. And actually, Steve Flint and Kathy, when they first saw the other side, the finished one that I'd done the night before, they thought it was static grass. And that blew this whole idiom that like static grass is the only thing worth doing. It blew that out of the water when I did that. But yeah, if she does do it in a video, I really do hope that she credits me as having kicked off that phrase. I've become known as the Queen of Speed Modelling. It was a nickname I kind of picked up on the show. But it's true. You've seen how quick I built Weir Yard, and I think it's born out of impatience as much as anything else. So I just want to get this done. New Mills Model Railway. I wouldn't say no to bringing a loco mine to Weir Yard. Stretch their legs a bit. Call it Goods or Ive at 2MT. They're both good actually. I've got an Ive at 2MT, but Call it Goods is on the list of locos I want, but don't currently have. I should, at some point, obviously, I keep trying to get people in as guests. It's really difficult to get people in as guests for the Jenny Monday Club. Obviously, want to keep it to like established big name. Let's say big name. Bigger YouTube channels. I can't just have all and sundry in. Can't just invite complete strangers to my house. Yeah, my mum would have a fit. It's like, so you're just inviting complete strangers that you met for the first time off the internet round to your house. Oh, that's really going to work out, isn't it? Then again, every time you order an Uber, that's pretty much what you do, isn't it? Let's have a look. Oh yeah, of course, Canadian Rail fan, you were there. So you saw Kathy behind the camera watching me like a hawk. She better if she does do that, she better credit me, otherwise I shall have words. Cottesmore, DCC all the way, by the way. Game Hammer Classic Gaming. Modern art is wonderful when done right, and most graffiti is awful, but urban art is great. Yeah, we saw some in Birmingham actually, which was really good. Angus Trains, what's this about plugs? We just plug in your channel, mate. Saying we're trying to get you up to 100 subs. I'm just saying, you do some great videos, actually. I do watch your channel, and I like that when you've got the camera wagon going around your layout, but also, when you visited layouts and also filmed stuff like Steam on the main line and that. It's great stuff. I'm just saying, bigging you up. J. Paul Anderson. Well, most modern art is rubbish. It's simple, too easy to replicate to be art. It's an interesting point. Is it art if just anybody can copy it? It's like Duchamp's fountain. If you don't, Duchamp fountain is an interesting thing. It does exist. It's an ordinary urinal that Marcel Duchamp put in the middle of a room as a modern art exhibit, and this ordinary, they call it ready-made. It's basically just bought a urinal, Armitage Shanks urinal, put it on a pedestal, modern art. And my argument when I did aesthetics in philosophy at university, I wrote a big essay about it, that is not art. Because all you're doing is you're taking a pre-existing object and placing it out of context. And the argument goes that if, say in the night, there's a couple of workmen and they were repairing the toilets at the art gallery, and they sort of went, oh, we've left our, oh, I can't be bothered, it's raining outside, I'm not going back down to the van. We'll just fit that in its place. So took Marcel Duchamp's fountain and ready-made, the urinal, from its display pin, plumbed it into the bathroom, and then when it stopped raining, went down to the van, got the one that they'd forgotten to bring up before, and just put it in its place on the plinth. Nobody knows any difference. If nobody knows any difference, how can it be art? Ham Shackleton, art. I like pictures that look like real things, not just coloured smears and blobs. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like almost like a Rorschach test otherwise. It's just. Oh, I have got well behind here. Foxhill Railway, Class 50 everyday. I do like the Class 50 actually. James Pets, don't like Class 47s, dearie me. I know. But if somebody were to become a Patreon and give me enough to buy a Bachmann Class 47, I wouldn't say no. I'm not fishing for money. Don't do that. That'd be naughty. James Pets, but all is forgiven in light of your love of the Brighton Atlantic. That is a lovely, lovely locomotive. James Pets, you were clearly far too popular. Well, thank you very much. The Avocet Pannier, you should get a Discord, Jenny. A Discord? Oh, is it artwork? Are we back on the artwork? Bauhaus. I'm going to skip through the art talk a little bit here, so just bear with me. Right. Otis JB, I have absolutely no interest in blue diesels. Shocking, I know. There we go. My point exactly. I love BR Blue, tops numbered diesels. Love it. My core interest. And then we have Otis JB saying, not interested. And that is why art and creativity are subjective. It's why some fool bought the Fiat Multipla and it's the most ugly car imaginable. But there's probably somebody who loves that thing. Alan Reynolds. We've just lost our Banksy art painting in Dover. I think it was political as it was Brexit based. They only painted over the top of it. The fools! If they'd have somehow managed to get that rendering in one piece off that building, it would have been worth millions. Gamehammer Classic Gaming. Jenny, maybe we should do a series on art. Me as someone who loves it. You as someone who can't stand most. No, that is not true. I have very interesting taste in art, but I prefer more conventional art. The Odd Couple do art. That does have legs, though. James Pets, there is a YouTube channel with a chap who has a cave in France who runs Hornby O-Gauge DCC fitted things. Yeah, I've heard about that. Leslie Gilpin, Brits don't understand modern art. When in art museums in Canada in September, the modern art galleries were the fullest. Interesting. Ham Shackleton, older locos, watch out for the live chassis ones. You have to thoroughly insulate the motor and decoder from it. Definitely, otherwise the decoder will go pop. Otis JB, I would like to get a sense of who Kathy is as a person, if only she did a Monday evening live stream. Yeah, and I think that's probably the thing. One of the reasons she's come in for more criticism perhaps than she deserves is because her credibility hasn't been established in the programme. With Steve, Railway Modeller, it's a thing people have heard of. You can see it in Smith. But Kathy, it's like, an internet vlogger. I'm sorry, but a lot of the audience are people of my age and older who it's like, yes, you're on this YouTube thing with the kids, so what? And you've got to establish your credibility. And in some respects, she's very private. There's nothing wrong with that, being very private and that. But you don't feel like you get to know the real Kathy. And, maybe that just doesn't help. Mark Wilson, they need Simon Cowell judging. He can be the Simon Cowell of the model world. Actually, Simon Cowell is great. I've dealt with him an awful lot, and he's not as intimidating as he perhaps comes across as. He's a great bloke, really, really nice guy, it has to be said. And that said, Simon Cowell's probably all right when he's off camera. Richie War Department Sutton, what do people think of the Oxford Rail Dean Goods with the railgun sets? That I think it's absolutely superb. The Dean Goods is a great locomotive. I haven't got one. I need to get one. The railgun, I do have one. It's brilliant. The camouflage one, which is out at the moment, that is an amazing model. I love that camouflage scheme. And it actually looks really good. Hattons were using one on the War of the Worlds layout, and it looks like perfect. Angus's Trains. Jenny, can you get me another? Okay, we've probably got over 100 people in the live stream at the moment. I could be wrong. But at least one of you is probably not subscribed to Angus's Trains. Go on, you know you want to. Maybe Gamehammer Classic Gaming. Find Angus's Trains channel and subscribe to him. Leslie Gilpin. Some of Kathy's appearances on US live streams have been interesting. How so? Kathy should come on the live stream. We can get her drunk on your hooch and then see how things go. She's always welcome, actually. I don't want her to think that I'm coming down harsh. I say it as I see it. Apparently, that would make me a really good stroke bad politician, depending on your point of view. But I don't intend to rub people up the wrong way. But I do call it as I see it. Yeah, what you hear is what you get. I'm very, very honest. It's probably a big failing in me. Mark Wilson, how much do model magazines pay for articles? It varies between magazines, varies on length, varies on whether you do the photos, varies on whether you get the cover or not. UK magazines don't tend to pay as well as overseas ones. I'm a regular contributor to Modellionishfags Magazinet in Sweden, and you can regularly clear like 300 quid from an article there, whereas in the UK you might make 100 quid, something like that. It does depend. Different magazines have different rates, and it really does vary. Logan Clary, I took apart a Lima Class 47 in January and then cleaned parts of the motor and reassembled it. Now it will not move. Did you use the right stuff? You need electrical contact cleaner, and don't use anything abrasive, and don't stick any things in there because you can snap the commutator windings very easily. Brockwell Lane, shame you and Kathy don't get... No. I won't go as far as saying that. It's not that we don't get on, just we never really talked. I like to think that I respect her. I know she's a very good modeller. And my criticisms have come from kind of the bad cop approach that maybe she's had to the judging of GMRC 2. I personally wouldn't have done it that way, but creativity is very subjective. Works for Simon Cowell. I don't dislike her. I don't want you to think that that's the case. That is certainly not the case. I just never really talked to her. I didn't get to speak to her much during the filming. We never argued. We never fell out. So I just can't tell. I like to think that we'd get on. We just, for whatever reason, didn't get to talk to each other much. I did get on with Steve because I talked to him a lot. It turned out that he used to live a few doors down from my grandmother in Cottingham in Hull for a good long while, and socially knew a lot of people who my father knew and who I'd known when I was younger. So we had a lot that we had in common that we could talk about. And I think as well there's also, there can be a sense of, not rivalry, it's the wrong word, but women react differently when you're almost like seen as, see, again, competitors is the wrong word, but we both have a YouTube channel, both reasonably big. She's a lot bigger than me. So you could argue that there's almost like even subconscious rivalry. Not on my behalf. I like to think not. Maybe it is subconsciously there. But women tend to react differently. Men are all like, yeah, buddy, buddy. And men tend to just be more open. And dare I say it, it's much more what you see is what you get. Women are much more complex animals. I don't know, maybe I just transgress that boundary. I don't care. I'll tell people what I think. But, Zoe said, damn straight, Zoe. Digger Evans, hi everyone, hi Jenny. Fox Hill Railway, hi Brockwell Lane, loving your Scottish micro. Oh yeah, Brockwell Lane, don't forget everybody check out that channel. I believe I am a subscriber of that one as well. I do subscribe to a lot of model railway channels, just don't have a lot of time to go watching stuff. James Carroll, good to know, thanks Zoe. Canadian Rail fan, Jenny, when they say stop, do you just carry on? I always went for a coffee when they said stop. What, in the filming? When they say stop, step away from the layouts. You do, you have to. Ham Shackleton, Logan, take the top off again and put a PP3 battery to the motor brushes. If it runs, it's a pickup fault. If it doesn't, something might be jammed. Good advice, Ham Shackleton. Fox Hill Railway, would have loved a turntable in there, though, even if weathered up and unused. I can well recommend the Pico kit. It's about 55 quid. It's not cheap, but it's a really, really good kit. J. Paul Anderson, I find it weird that there's not a large range of plastic moulded building kits in the UK, specifically for houses and larger structures like the ones of Faller or Kibri in Germany. Daypol do some, but they're quite old and a bit... Stu Hall, thank you. You're welcome. Richie Ward Department says, Brockwell Lane, love your channel. It's a good channel, actually. Yeah, everybody go and check it out. William Robinson, have you ever thought of publishing your own magazine, Jen, as you've published books before, and as you say, you've written articles for the big magazines? I've got a friend who, Alex Croft was the editor for a while for MRE Mag, and I know from his experience that it is a thankless task. A big name magazine has a lot of clout behind it, a lot of establishment. It's a difficult market to try and break into now. I don't think I could. I don't think the market's there for it, and I think it would be a lot of work for no real gain. The internet has changed many things, the high street, the way we consume films and media, and that includes magazines. Viaduct Central Model Railway, I lost 10 subs this week. What am I doing going wrong? I don't know, and you will find that a lot of subs come and go. You've just got to gain more subs than you lose. It's a natural attrition thing. People do unsubscribe. They decide, actually, I'm not watching that channel. I'll just dump that sub. And also, sometimes YouTube purges inactive accounts. It happens. It may not be anything at all that you've done wrong. Robert Scott, evening to you. Barry 120. I feel like Kathy almost tries to be someone she isn't on the show, and it doesn't come off well. Yeah, it's almost like she's acting. Like she's got a persona she's trying to do, which isn't natural for her, maybe. I don't know. I don't know her well enough to know. Leslie Gilpin, Time Team, no idea what it is. Must be ritualistic, Toby. That was the joke, actually, even amongst the Time Team production crew, that if you found three stones in situ, it was clearly some kind of ritualistic temple. It's a Time Team joke. They also had, I can remember them sniggering about T-shirts that they got one year, which said, archaeologists do it systematically in holes. Mark Wilson, I use scale seams paper kits. Amazing if you take a bit of time. Very easy to create bespoke walls, tunnels, sheds, etc. Just glue to car. Yeah, you need a good printer for that. I've never got on with printing my own stuff out. J. Paul Anderson, Brockwell Lane. Yeah, Ullapool's coming along so nice. Love that here was once a turntable effect. So I take it you've just got the pit rather than anything else, which would probably be quite easy to do, actually. Interesting idea. Disused dereliction always is a really good focal point for modelling, it has to be said. William Robinson, thanks for replying. You're welcome. Chan Ling Feng, you sounding like nice lady. Hi, nice lady. Thank you very much. Canadian Rail fan. I think it should be 2 hours long. Oh, there's certainly a lot of stuff. I think there's a lot of stuff that was cut for time from GMRC, not for any other reason, and that's why I think that an internet presence I'm guessing Channel 5 must have a YouTube account. You know, putting some of this stuff out. Facebook. Some of the footage that didn't make the cut. It can really make the difference. I did make a pitch for this to Pat and to KBG. They've not got back to me on it, but I did suggest this. And I think I need to actually speak to Pat. If it's anything like Biggest Little Railway, they won't release any of the unused footage ever. Just won't, for whatever reason. But
Model rail fans do it in miniature.
Apparently, sorry, am I too loud?
There's a bit of hiss, so I've come up to try and sort that out for you.
Apparently, Zoe's messing now with the sound level.
So the sound will drop a little bit. How's that for you?
But you all have volume control.
Yes. I'm just trying to take the hiss off. But yes, model rail fans do it in miniature.
Yeah, it's the Avocet Pannier. I think Kathy is harsh on things that she doesn't think should be in with the hobby. Such as in last season, she was very critical on Team Railway Children, I believe, for their liking of Thomas. Yeah, and you can't escape the fact that Thomas is the gateway into the hobby for so many people. I mean, when I was a kid, I loved the Thomas the Tank Engine books, and now my little nephew Henry he lives and breathes trains, but he loves Thomas the Tank Engine. And I think the secret of being a good judge is not following what your personal likes are, but it's being able to see the craftsmanship and the skill and the effort that's gone into something, you know, and rewarding taking on doing things differently and thinking outside the box. And that's what makes a good judge on anything, really. Here's my bid to be a judge. No, I didn't sell myself very well. I'm rubbish at selling myself, and that's why I wasn't a judge more than anything else. I was just not, you know, I wasn't very good at blowing my own trumpet. I never was, never will be. Just one of those things. James Carroll. When I was in my 30s, I hand-painted lead figures for a group that was into... it just jumped again. Civil War. I think it's Civil War gaming. Yeah, there's a lot of different forms of... modelling. It's not just model railways, and you can get equal enjoyment about the creativity in all of them. And actually, it's worth looking to some of these other modelling groups for inspiration. I've picked up a lot of inspiration from the way that miniature wargaming modelers, stuff that they use. Mark Wilson, I think GMRC could do a spin-off show, How to Build a Layout for Beginners. They could probably do that using some of the unused footage of people, you know, doing the nitty-gritty of building stuff. James Carroll, Civil War Gaming. Yeah, it's a thing. Seen it. It's good. Game Hammer Classic Gaming. We are planning to visit some clubs and model railway modelers. Those sort of like Monday Club on tour. Yeah, one of the places is Bolton Model Railway Club. We're looking to do a live thing there. Been trying to negotiate doing it live from Hatton's at some point. Not come together yet. I might speak to Rails as well about doing something there. Leslie Gilpin, there are dozens of the fountain, a Duchamp fountain. Yeah, definitely around the world. Yeah, lots of people wee in them. Yeah, Carol Taylor, Miniature Rail. God, am I that far behind? Viaduct Central Model Railway. If you're interested in weathering cheap hobby wagons, please check out my latest vid. Carol Taylor, bye! Jen and Zoe, bye to you. It's been great having you along. Hope to see you next week. J. Paul Anderson, yes, Duchamp Arrival is basically a farce, quite early too. 1918 or so. Yeah, it's quite an oldie thing. Yeah, Mark Wilson, love blue diesels, dislike steam locos. It's yeah. Angus's Trains, Jenny Discord is chatting online. Digger Evans, me too, diesels all the way. The Urban Airsoft in my diction is BR green and BR blue. Could be worse, could be. Otis JB, I love the 4 tops but not tops numbered engine. See, there you are. The Urban Airsoft, I'm going to pop away for a bit. I'll be back. No problem, Arnie, the Terminator. I'll be back. Mark Wilson, get Brian Badongi on art. Logan Clary, I saw a couple of BR Blue Class 37s at Southend Victoria today. Cool. Fox Hill Railway, sorry Jen, I have to go. Really good stream as always. Bonsoir. Thank you very much. Game Hammer Classic Gaming. You have 91 in here right now. Fox Hill Railway. Woohoo, you've subbed. Digger Evans, yep, Lacastrian. Speak as they see. Mark Wilson, just subscribed to Angus's Trains. Cool. And Game Hammer Classic Gaming did sub. Leslie Gilpin, agreed Digger. By Gum, it's grand up north, eh? Yeah. 89 subs. Good going. We're nearly there. 11 more. The Avocet Pania. I think, in my opinion, that you would have been a better judge on GMRC. Oh, well, thank you very much. I think I would have been... I might have been almost too positive. I'd have been like, oh, haven't they done a good job? 5 for them. Oh, haven't they done a good job? 5 for them. They'd have had to have had a scratch build scratch off or something to separate the teams. Leslie Gilpin, expat in South Wales, Digger. Digger Evans, Wales is nice too. Carl Payne, canned poo art. Well, no, Andy Warhol, the painting of the Campbell's soup. Logan Clary, all I used was Track Magic. Is that the powder or the liquid? The liquid I found was pretty good. The powder, Deluxe Materials products, not so good, but I guess I'm probably the way you use it does help a lot. Mark Wilson, women think too much. I think some men do as well. That's why all the political problems happen. Brockwell Lane, thanks for the plug. You're welcome. Oh, it just jumped. You are welcome. 11 more subs. Yep. Otis JB, love Brockwell Lane too. What a great model. Keep up the good work. Absolutely. Mark Wilson, you're not drinking enough, Jenny. Okay. Mark Wilson, good night, my duck. Good night, cupboard monkey. You're welcome. Leslie Gilpin, hiss. We've probably got a loose connection somewhere. Would be my guess. Is the hiss really loud? If I stop talking a moment... Actually, yeah, we're getting a lot of hiss. I can see... When I stop talking, I can see the levels on the screen sort of like dancing around. Canadian Rail fan. Jenny, I have seen rivet counters yesterday. I got talking. They're really knowing. Oh, rivet counters. Richie Ward, Apartment Sutton, what's the locomotive you don't like or wouldn't have on your layouts? Modern units. Just no interest whatsoever. Probably like Class 70, Class 68, Class 66. Just doesn't interest me. Brockwell Lane. Mark Wilson. I think the change from steam to diesel in the 60s must have been a fascinating time to be alive, but I suppose all the railway enthusiasts hated the diesels. Indeed, yes. Oh, excuse me, there's a lot of fizz in that. Indeed, I know that there was a lot of disquiet about that. In the same way, I guess, that a lot of when the classic rolling stock and locomotives started disappearing from the late 90s onwards, that was really the last of my interest in modern railways when stuff like HEA hoppers started disappearing. That was kind of the last of my interest disappearing. Mark Wilson, also we've done that. Brockwell Lane, Titfield Thunderbolt movie got me into steam trains when I was a kid more than Thomas did. Still love that film. It's a great film actually. I'd love to see a model of Lion turn up ready to run. Have we reached the bottom of the comments? I have as well.
That's the bottom of the comments.
I've caught up.
Right. Oh no, this spells doom for us all.
Oh no!
How's that for hiss?
Still getting a bit, I don't know.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we can get rid of that.
Might need to clean all the contacts.
That sounds like effort.
Or it's more likely, I don't know, does the hit, let's just try something. Does the hiss go away if you unplug the microphone? I'll tell you if it's on the microphone.
Okay, this is going to cause a lot of pop.
Right,
guys, we're going to go silent for a second.
Can I just warn you all? We're keeping going, but there might be a big pop, so turn your sound down a little bit.
The hiss is on the deck.
Right, what we've ascertained is that the hiss is somewhere. It's not the microphone, because we unplugged the microphone and we're still getting a hiss. Which means that somewhere else...
It's inside this. It's inside the sound deck. I will have to...
Electrical contact cleaner.
Yeah, I'll have to open it up and clean it. Right. Guys, we know where it is. I'm not a cupboard monkey, so there.
Yes, she is. Where are we up to? Yeah, James Petts, well done for catching up. Oh, Angus's trains. oh no. Sorry, I always do, oh no, in that silly voice because Zoe finds it amusing.
Oh no.
She can't do it. She can't do voices.
No.
Oh no, what's going on?
In my defence, I'm deaf, so I can hardly hear anyway. Never mind do accents.
I used to do voice acting for radio a long time ago. I used to do silly voices and stuff.
I am not a cupboard monkey.
Yeah. But I always feel really embarrassed. I'm looking at the little myself on the screen here. I feel embarrassed doing silly voices when people can see me doing the silly voices. It's a bit like the lady who does the voice for Marge Simpson refuses to let anybody see her or film her when she's doing the voice of Marge Simpson. I'm a bit like that because I get really embarrassed if people can see, because a lot of voice acting you have to contort your face into silly angles and stuff. I do this weird like old people voice, but I have to pull my bottom lip right over my bottom teeth, and I end up sounding like I'm like an 80-year-old spinster. So it's one of the things that I don't like people to see me doing them, but I can sort of go over here maybe, I don't know. Anyway, meanwhile, back at the ranch, Mark Wilson, Bachmann did do a Tipfield Thunderbolt model set. Are you sure about that? I know that they've done the DeWalt Clinton, which was an American outline one, which interesting. I keep meaning to track one down. And they did. It wasn't Lion. It was a different one, but it's an American themed set. Sorry, I just distracted by it. Friday Central Model Railway YouTube must hate me. Lost another 10. Huh. They may have had a purge of accounts. It does happen from time to time. I see it on my own stats. You literally, I mean, you think losing 10's bad. I can literally lose like 150 just like that because they just can a load of accounts. Only a little pop, Robert Scott said. Oh, that's grand. There's probably a compression which stops it maxing out. Leslie Dickinson, I hated to see steam go as it was my main interest, but I embraced the new era of diesels with open arms. Must admit, I'm not keen on the newer type of diesels and units. Yeah, I know what you mean. I see. I'm too young to remember mainline steam, but I just about remember industrial steam. Literally the last wisps. Leslie Gilpin, a German film did Der Adler set. Sometimes you see some of these floating around secondhand. I'm not sure how good they are. I know that Hornby in the 1970s, I think it was something like the 100th or 150th anniversary of the opening of the Stockton and Darlington, or the Rainhill Trials or something. They did a set with the Stephenson's Rocket and 3 coaches. Now, it does still crop up from time to time. I would love to have them reissue that and maybe retool it up to a modern standard. But really hard to get. Mark Wilson, sorry, it was Hornby R3186 set, Tipfield Thunderbolt set. Yeah, that was with the auto tank, the 042, the Lomac with the coach on, and the brake van, I believe that set was. That wasn't actually the Lion. Mark Stanway's Night, super to be here for the live rather than the recording. You recall 4 for music and 6 for speech. Oh, grand. Yeah. I do remember. Yeah. It's great to have you along. Don't forget that I'm looking down. We're over 3 hours now. We're onto a record here. Mark Wilson, classic Sonic the Hedgehog T-shirt. She is a massive retro gamer. If you could see this room, basically it's you can just about see an edge of shot there. PlayStation 2 games. Imagine those shelvings continue all the way around the room. We've got. Let's have a look. I'm sure she's got Sonic the Hedgehog here. Where is Sonic the Hedgehog? Where are you? No Sonic the Hedgehog. I do Disney's Quack Attack on Mega Drive. But yeah, retro gaming for the win. Oh no, it's down here. Echo the Dolphin. Oh, that's a classic. Dizzy. Fantasy Dizzy, Earthworm, Jim. Oh, Sonic and Sonic 2, but it's a bit behind the monitor. J. Paul Anderson, that's right. Merklin Tricks did Adler with coaches in the 1970s, then redid a much more detailed set in the early 2000s, which was very expensive. Interesting. Right, look, anyway, ooh, rickety chair. I'm going to have to round this up because it is getting quite late. Look, it's been a great chat, actually. I think it's getting better and better. It's just, you're a great crowd, and I couldn't do this without all of you. It's been amazing to have you all along for this live stream. And some of you actually been here right from the beginning, just over 3 hours. That's quite a lot. It's been great having your company. Don't forget that you can still catch up with all the previous videos. This video will get processed and become a regular video, so you can catch up with any bits you missed, anything that you really, really want to hear again. In the meantime, don't forget, buy my books, available in all good bookshops and some really naff ones as well. Available from allmousemedia.com. And also, what else? Right, coming up on Wednesday, we've got an all-new box opening and review. And this is with a brand new Acura scale product. They're doing a lot with them. Great models. Really looking forward to doing a full box opening and review on that. We've got a further update on progress and stuff in the Loft video coming out for Friday. And then I've got a cheap as chips DCC guide for Saturday that's already filmed and in the can. And don't forget that Great Model Railway Challenge semi-final, the first semi-final. There are two. So the first semi-final to see which two teams are going to go through to the final. Because basically there's 3 teams in the semi-final, and the top 2 of those 3 teams, so only one team gets knocked out, go through to the final. The final will have 4 teams competing rather than the usual 3. But this Friday, Channel 5, 7:45 p.m. Be there or be slightly octagonal. You really need to see it. It's a great episode with 3 great inventive teams. And yeah, Ham Shackleton, if you knew my real name, I've got 13 books in print too. Yeah, I counted up before actually. Yeah, I'm something like that. I'm up to. I've got a couple of new ones coming out. There's a comic collection coming out new, hopefully in time for Christmas, possibly not. But yeah, Leslie Gilpin, 4 books here as well. A lot of great authors on. It's great, isn't it, when you first see your name in print on the spine of a book in a bookshop. It is such a great feeling, and it keeps my mother happy as well. She's got all of my books all lined up on a bookshelf, and she goes, "Oh yes, Jenny, she's an author, published author, don't you know?" But yeah, I'd love somebody to option the film rights. We've not got any. I think the closest we've got is Canadian Rail Fan. If you know anybody in your filming world contacts, do let them know that nice, reasonable price for film rights for my books. And also my debut LP should be out some point. I wrote all the words for it. It's being recorded in a studio in Haifa in Israel with my co-conspirator, who is Bruno Greif. Who did the music, actually, the War of the Worlds music for the War of the Worlds layout, and he's also done music for the layout that we will be building, that I'm going to tell you nothing about, that you'll have to watch GMRC on Saturday for. But until then, oh yes, the Garden Row, it's kind of stalled this year thanks to everything else that's been going, very much so. But at some point I'm going to get a new DCC controller, as we talked about before, for up in the loft, more powerful, and the old one will be cascaded to be able to use on the Garden Railway, and we're going to get some good Garden Railway running videos as well. So, James Carroll, good night all you under the stairs trolls as well as all the others. Yeah, there's about nearly 100 people in the room, so it's great to have the lurkers in as well. Great to have you all. You all take really great care of yourselves, and I'll see you back here next time. Until next time, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, let everybody you know about this channel, and we've got something for everybody. But until then, bye for now.